It is a great day for track and field, and the track and field is great here at Haywood Field in Eugene, Oregon. An oval that's seen it all Americans to Olympic champs, and ready for another chapter here at the University of Oregon. For the 103rd time, it is the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships, the Natty. Everybody watches women's sports, and Thursday belongs to them. Day 2. Qualifying in the sprints and middle distance, 10,000 meter final, field event points available for teams in the jumps and the throws. Also, we do have limited dude action. Second day of the Decathlon. Tomorrow is the men's final, Saturday championship day for the women. That rounds out our schedule here at Haywood Field. Welcome everyone to Eugene, Oregon on what is an absolutely fabulous day that a bunch of people are going to ruin by running themselves to exhaustion. Which, as long as I'm not involved, I'm totally down with. I love it. You go for it, you track and field heroes. 21 individual champions to be determined, and of course the one team title. Plenty of programs in contention. But one that stands out is Georgia. The Bulldogs have athletes in a lot of events, and they have young women who can place high and score big. Sure, they'll jab for a couple of little points, but mostly these people throw haymakers. Kids from College Station, Lubbock, they're going to figure in this thing too. SEC, Big 12, Big 10, they rule the rankings. But rankings don't win championships. We know that. It's athletes running inside your TV set or on your phone or your iPad. I have a great view of it all here on field level. But if you need that 10,000-foot view perspective, and by that I mean 10,000-foot view perspective, we go to our race commentators led by Dwight Stones, along with Dan O'Brien and Lair Overton. Gang?
Hey, John, we just took off our oxygen masks to do this on camera. They're coming right back on when we start to call the races. We do have a great perspective on here, and as you said, on paper, Georgia really looks almost unbeatable. If everything goes right for them, it's a runaway, with Texas A&M having to have everything go straight. Not like yesterday, where the men's team title really is up for grabs, but Georgia's so balanced all the way across the board.
Well, all season long, we've been hearing about this Georgia team, that they were built for the national championships, but not for the SEC championships. Well, director of track and field Carol Smith-Gilbert said, forget that. I'm going to win the conference meet, and she certainly did. How did she get it done? She got it done with balance, and look at the Bulldog balance here. There you see Aaliyah Butler, the number 1 400-meter runner in the country. Kayla Jackson's going to chip in the sprints as well, but when you've got hammer throwers and javelin throwers, Stephanie Ratcliffe, she could get 10 crucial points for the Bulldogs. And when you continue to think about balance, another great team in this country is Texas A&M. The Texas A&M Aggies, they come in with a ton of balance. They got a couple of great sprinters. Jasmine Montgomery leads the way for them, but also an outstanding long jumper in Winnie Bai, and the best heptathlete in the country, Sophia Yakashina.
Well, unlike yesterday, where the distance races were really are going to figure prominently in the overall team title, there's some great individual performances across the board in the distances on the ladies' side.
And the host Oregon Ducks, they won the women's indoor team title back in March. And to put themselves in contention to do that outdoors, they'll lean heavily on advancing as many opportunities through onto Saturday's final. That includes 3 opportunities in the 1500. That's indoor collegiate record holder Shalon Ayildiz alongside Mia Barnett and the Olympian Claudia Kazmierska. Also in the lone track final of the day, Oregon freshman Diana Chirotich looks to factor in heavily, but that is a very deep field. You have the second fastest collegiate all time in Pamela Kosgei out of New Mexico, as well as last year's runner-up, Hilda Olomomoy of Florida. And in terms of distance stars, a lot of eyes on Doris Lemgole, the collegiate record holder in the steeplechase. She'll have to advance through today to have a chance to defend her title on Saturday.
And we always get it started with the 4x100 meter relay, 3 semifinal heats of that race. There are the records, collegiate and meet, as well as Southern Cal being the leader in 2025 in this event. And we are featuring in this first of 3 heats. In the middle, Florida State and Texas.
Well, this Florida State team, they went to the first round in Jacksonville, Florida. We'll call it the East Regionals, and they surprised some people. You don't get a chance to see Florida State throughout this outdoor season because they stay mostly in the southeast, but they were definitely on fire. They're going to anchor with Joella Lloyd. We're going to see her featured in individual sprint racing later today.
Top 2 teams to across the finish line automatically qualify to Saturday's final, and the next 3 fastest times that are not automatic qualifiers, looking for a 9-team final on Saturday. In Florida State in 6, Texas in 5. Last year it took 43:26 to qualify on time.
Well, that's a beautiful pass between Carletta Bernard and Holly Okoku of Texas. Okoku running well down that back straight.
Florida State in good shape in the middle of the track. Oregon looks like they may have missed the pass, might have passed out of the zone. Now here comes Texas. The Florida State passes first, but a great pass for Texas. Florida State now in the lead, followed by Texas. And then Howard trying to make a move to get in that top 2. And it looks like it might have been TCU get that second automatic spot right those last 10 meters. With India Mayberry, the freshman, running a great anchor leg for the Horned Frogs. And it was indeed Florida State the winner, and TCU did get that coveted automatic qualifier in second place.
Well, you know they're going to pass the baton very well there in Austin, Texas. Coach Flo believes in simplifying the process and the team believing in themselves. But there you see the top 2 teams. Nice pass there. Holly Okoku goes for Texas. Shanice Walker for Florida State. Florida State has absolutely been rolling, and they get over, like I said, they get overlooked a little bit because they're in the ACC conference. Everybody looks at the SEC, but they have absolutely dominated in that conference. And for the anchor leg for Texas, that's Ramaya Elliott and Joella Lloyd. But I'll tell you what, keep an eye on India Mayberry as she closes so fast at the end.
Watch Oregon left of your screen. They have a tough time making this pass.
Well, that outgoing runner there, that outgoing third runner for Oregon, she was Brazil Neal. She was completely in the other lane, but look at India Mayberry close. The indoor 200-meter champ has taken notice here in the first event on the women's qualifying day and gotten TCU into the final.
So Florida State wins it 42-93. TCU getting that second automatic qualifying spot, and then Texas, Howard, and Clemson have to wait for 2 heats to see if those times will hold up. So we get on to heat number 2, featuring the women of Troy. They will start out of lane 6. There is the lineup. Samira Moody will be the leadoff, and Jasani Carter the anchor for the Trojans.
Well, this is a very well-known throughout the nation, prolific sprint squad. They are so deep, both on the men's and women's side at USC, just almost too many to keep track of, but they are very formidable. And you know what they do at LSU? They just win the 4x1. They know how to do it. Dennis Shaver does a wonderful job. LSU's run 42.85 this season. Is a little bit quicker than TCU. Makeda Linton and Tima Godbless, the Olympian, will anchor. And Georgia could get things rolling right away here by getting into the finals and securing some points 2 days from now. But Dejanay Oakley, the 400-meter specialist, she will anchor this Georgia Bulldog squad, and we do not see Kayla Jackson on that team.
USC with the fastest time in the country this year, 42:36. LSU having not won this event since 2018. Always right there in contention, but just not on the top of the podium for the last 7 seasons. There is the lineup. LSU in 5, USC in 6, Georgia in 7. Only 2 can automatically qualify.
UCLA down there in lane 4. They've run well this year as well. 43.03, new school record at the dual meet earlier this spring.
There is more wind on the track today than there was yesterday. That'll factor into a number of the events as we go forward. Very even first leg. Good late pass for USC, keeping the baton moving. Trojans pass first, equal with Georgia. USC and Georgia. Now USC just breaking it open. It is all USC. Now if the fight is for second place, that automatic qualifier. And it's going to be Georgia that automatically gets through. USC dominating the collegiate leaders this second heat of the 4x1.
Well, USC made that one look really easy. 42.55, just outside their season best. They were good, solid passes, but they weren't particularly clean. They're going to want to clean. They're going to want to clean these passes up 2 days from now. But Samira Moody, she goes first for the Trojans. There you see the Trojans in white. But there's a one miss and then a handoff to Deja DeFrand. And Deja really opens it up on the back straight. She's one of the faster athletes on this squad. Good for her. And another missed pass on a first try, but they're in position that they can make a recovery and then get the baton in on a second try. And here goes Madison White. And every one of these sprinters from USC are going to be featured in individual events. And a lot of these other teams cannot say that. But the USC ladies of Troy, women of Troy, we're going to see throughout this afternoon. And we'll see if they can fare just a little bit better than the men did in the qualifying. But USC made it absolutely look easy as they run away with this thing. Look at that, 5, 6, 7 meters of distance, and a nice close by Dejanay Oakley, and a good warm-up for her because she's got the 400 meters coming up in less than an hour's time.
So USC wins heat 2 going away, 42.55. Georgia with that automatic qualifying spot in second. LSU at 43.30. They are the bubble. In heat number 3, if you are not first or second, you want to run faster than 43.30, or you will not advance. UCLA and all those other teams below them all out of the final. That brings us to the third and final semifinal. There is South Carolina in the Gamecock lineup, anchored by Jamisha Ford, who we will see everywhere. She won all 4 events at the SEC championships, the 100, the 200, anchored the relay, and was also part of the 4x400 relay in Kentucky a month ago.
Well, this South Carolina team has just worked so well together this season. There you see Centuria James on second leg. Jayla Jamison, she'll lead off. Centuria James, she's also going to be in the open 100 meters. And Zaya Akins will run the open 400. Well, we'll see Jamisha Ford in the 100 and the 200. But this is going to be a really tough team to beat. And I like them on the outside, running just a little bit scared on the outside. Here we go with Texas A&M. Jasmine Harmon, Cameron Dixon, Bria Bullard, and then Jasmine Montgomery, who we'll talk a little bit about in the open 100 meters as she's coming home because she went to school here for a year before transferring. And there is Baylor. Baylor's run really well here as well, real well this outdoor season. 42.73, the Big 12 champs. They made the final last year. And Alexis Brown, who does a little bit of everything, will go on that third leg.
Baylor, the third best team in the country this year.
On your mark.
So at least one very prominent team is not going to automatically advance. Remember the bubble time, 43.30. If you aren't first or second, you want to be under that number in order to advance.
Ohio State pretty solid on the outside as well. They'll go with Leah Bertrand, the All-American, on the anchor leg there. And for Florida, Habiba Harris, the best hurdler in the country, will anchor that Florida Gator squad. And Anthea Charlton, we'll see her in the 100 meters and the long jump here at these championships. It's like we got a little issue with the blocks. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. These are high-tech blocks, sensor pads, and a little speaker on the back. Doesn't look like Jayla Jamison can get that block all the way down to the ground. It's always interesting though when you get to when you go to a big meet and they're using different blocks than you use every day in practice, and that's why it's so important to get out here a couple days early, get a feel for the track, hear the starting commands, and work on a new block system if it's not familiar to you.
On your marks.
So once again, Texas A&M in 6, South Carolina in 7, Baylor in 8. And you can hear the wind whipping up in our microphones much more so than yesterday.
Set.
So A&M, South Carolina, and Baylor 1, 2, 3 on 6, 7, and 8. Not a great pass by South Carolina. They just had to slow down to get the baton. Centuria James now in full flight. Very close between South Carolina and Baylor on that exchange.
Well, that's a much better exchange for South Carolina, though. And here goes Zaya Akins, 400-meter specialist on that third leg. And you give it to Jamison close to the front. And you can usually wrap it up, but that's Habiba Harris from Florida running well. 2 lanes on the inside.
South Carolina now A&M. What an amazing last leg by the Aggies. Jasmine Montgomery was about 6 meters down and caught the Florida runner Habiba Harris and just ran past her for that second automatic qualifying spot. 42.58 season best for South Carolina.
Well, this is going to be a fun final. South Carolina, certainly not their best trip around, but their fastest of the season. But look at Jasmine Montgomery bring it back for the Aggies to secure that spot in the finals. Just walked down Habiba Harris, and she passed her baton to the official, and she was out of this stadium quicker than the camera could even follow her.
Well, it took 43.08 to make it through this year. Howard, Florida and Howard making it through on time along with Texas. So just as it should be, season bests all over the place for these teams. This is the Nationals. It's the time to be doing your best. When we come back, we will have 3 semifinals in the 1,500 meters. Next event on the track, 2 semifinal heats of the 1,500. Jenny Behringer, now Simpson, the only collegian to ever break 4 minutes, has the collegiate record. Sinclair Johnson with the meet record. And there is Silan Ildiz, the junior from Oregon. She should get a lot of support from the crowd here at Hayward Field.
Holds 3 collegiate records in the indoor mile, the indoor 1,500, also the distance medley relay. Also, this year won 3 Big Ten titles, including cross country and the indoor outdoor 5,000.
First 5 finishers across the finish line automatically qualifying through to Saturday's final. And then the next 2 fastest times that were not automatic qualifiers. They're looking to cut the field in half. They start with 24. They're trying to get it down to 12 for Saturday.
And these fields in the 1,500 are just so deep. I talked with Silan Ildiz's coach, Shalane Flanagan, and she told all of her women who are in these prelims in the 1,500 that today is really harder than the final. The field is just so crazy good, and there's such a high caliber of talent right now in the NCAA. That is Kimberly May from Providence up front. Certainly no stranger to championship racing scenarios. The top returner from last year's NCAA 1,500 meter final, where she was the runner-up to Harvard's Maya Ramsden. Also, Maggie Congdon is as tough as they come, running for NIU. She's been in this field before. She was 3rd at the NCAA indoors in the mile earlier this year. Just last year, she was 9th in this event. Went on a couple weeks later following the NCAA Outdoor Championships to run 4:02.79 at the Olympic trials here at Hayward Field.
70.5 for the first 400 meters, a little up on the slow side, which is why we see this field of 12 bunched up and forcing some athletes into lane number 2.
And you would think that some of these athletes would have learned from what we saw yesterday in the men's 1500 semifinals is when those went very pedestrian and were very conservative, some of the favorites were left out of that final because it became so much of a sit and kick race. You can see also a little traffic developing there with a couple of the BYU athletes. Pointing out as well from South Carolina, they're in the top 4. That is the SEC champion, Salma El-Badra.
Shulan Aldez looks to have built herself a little bit of a box. She's formerly South Carolina, now Oregon. And with this pace, anything can happen. And you always worry when there's this bunching up that somebody catches a spike or somebody trips a heel, and you see a lot of people go down.
And that's an area where you have seen Shalon really develop over the last year as they go through in 71 seconds on that 400. It's just refining and developing her race skill set. Shalane Flanagan said she watches more film with Shalon than anyone else. She's really practiced herself in staying collected and calm in race situations. She had a fantastic finish here at Hayward Field at the Big Ten meet in the 5,000 meters to win that conference title. Margot Appleton, you can see making the move from Virginia. She's got that blue top, orange bottoms in the outside of lane 2.
Well, Aldez has some work to do. She's now going to try the rail, which is always a little bit dicey. As they're coming up to the bell, half the field in lane 2. Now the real running begins. And if she's lucky, she can work herself out of that box, which she does successfully. Remember, the top 5 finishers automatically qualify through to Saturday's final.
Really shifty move from Shalana Yildiz as they go through in 64.5. Riley Chamberlain in full charge on the outside of BYU. Kimberly
May has led from the front with Congdon, Maggie Congdon right there from NAU. For Virginia, that's Margot Appleton, also out of trouble out into lane 2. But there's 7 or 8 athletes that are in contention for those 5 automatic spots. Aldez goes wide, and now in full sprint. Congdon is going to win the heat. Aldez is safely through as part of the top 5, as is May. So disaster avoided.
59.8 last 400 from Maggie Congdon. She has fantastic 800-meter speed. She showcased that right there. And I thought really expertly navigated that field. I don't think if you go back and she's going to watch that with Coach Mike Smith, he would have much to tell her that she should have done any differently, because she was comfortable to set and get pulled along in the pack and then well navigated through that traffic.
So you can see Aldez, they're in on the rail and pushing to make some space for herself to move out, which she did successfully, but a lot of pushing and shoving.
Meanwhile, Maggie Congdon eludes every bit of it by being on the outside of Kimberly May, and even as she shifts into that full sprint, still looks incredibly effortless with that great turnover, that speed she has. Shalana Yildiz, you can see how she stretches out on that stride to get into her kick. Maggie Congdon has solidified herself certainly as one of those to watch going into Saturday's final. Not only because of how fast she's run this season, but just because of how sharp tactically she navigated in qualifying.
So you see those top 5 who have all automatically qualified. Riley Chamberlain and Carly Hansen, both at BYU. Have to wait to see if those times are going to hold up as time qualifiers. That's a big advantage for the second heat. They know that the first 800 meters went out slowly. They can make a decision not to make the same mistake and maybe pull the time qualifiers through here in this second semifinal, which we are about to run. Shannon Flockhart of Providence is part of this field. She'll be in position number 10.
And when you talk about likely seeing this second heat go a little bit quicker. Keep in mind that in last year's semifinal, Shannon Flockhart ran 4:05.99 in qualifying. So nearly broke the meet record in the prelim.
She was 6th at this meet last year, hoping to improve on that. The senior from Great Britain.
She's run 4:04.97 for the 5th all-time mark, has Shannon Flockhart. Also, Sophie O'Sullivan of Washington, the Big Ten Outdoor 1500-meter champ, also a Paris Olympian. She did not compete indoors this year. She was actually over in Australia. She spent the winter quarter training in Australia, had about 12 weeks over there, came back for the outdoor season.
Sophie with a pretty famous mother, Sonia O'Sullivan, who is an outstanding runner for Villanova and for Ireland. So same configuration, 12 athletes. The first 5 across the finish line will automatically qualify through to Saturday's final. And then the next 2 on time. The bubble is 4:12.35.
Oregon with 2 in that top 4 right now. Easy to identify the green uniform there. Also a number of Washington athletes in there alongside Sophie O'Sullivan. You have her teammate Chloe Forrester as well. And in talking about Claudia Kazmierska, she has the best career lifetime best of anyone in the field. She's gone sub 4 minutes for 1500. And in talking with Shalane Flanagan, she says when you become an Olympian, there is a bit of responsibility or weight that you carry with that. So something that they have done this year is really just building up a lot of confidence in some of the other distances, running quite a few 800s so that she can sharpen up some of her speed and not have to carry a bit of that expectation that might come in the event that you competed in at the Olympic Games.
67.9 the first 400, nearly 3 seconds faster than the first semifinal. Sophie O'Sullivan continues to set the pace with her teammate Chloe Forrester right next to her on her shoulder. And it appears the pace is slowed from that early opening pace. Field is bunching up ever so slightly.
And Sophie O'Sullivan showcased a phenomenal kick at the Big Ten Championship. She actually closed that 1500 in 58 seconds. Great comfortability for O'Sullivan up front, having Forrester in tow. Kazmierska looking very relaxed right now. Right now, her training has her set to have a peak here for the NCAA championships, but then also another as she eyes the World Championships coming up. Shalane Flanagan said she's getting really close to the fitness level that she showcased going into last year's Olympic Games as they go through, slowed things down significantly, 72 seconds. And you can see Kazmierska starting to creep up in lane 2. They're going really wide at this point. That's Lindsey Butler of Virginia Tech, who's nearly out into lane 3. Butler, an indoor national champion.
Running wide to stay out of trouble, but running the extra distance in order to do so.
Mia Barnett doing a great job as well of putting herself up there in that top 4.
There goes Kazmierska at the belt. Kazmierska, O'Sullivan, and Butler. Forrester is also there, along with Sylvia Jalelgo of Clemson. But plenty of athletes still in the mix for those 5 automatic qualifying spots.
That's Judy Rono from New Mexico, also trying to find her way up into the front, but she is so far on the outside, running a lot of extra distance. You can see Kazmierska is digging.
Kazmierska, O'Sullivan, Barnett, Butler, and Mina Scathard there with the number 1 on her hip. Here they come in the final stretch. O'Sullivan back into the lead. Kazmierska and Barnett for the Ducks. Butler has a good head of steam. And Scatchard Those are your 5. Those are the automatic qualifiers out of Heat 2, and this is a faster heat than Heat 1, so the time qualifiers will come out of this semifinal.
Sophie O'Sullivan was so chill even as she was in that full sprint. She was smiling across the finish line. 60.2, that closing 400 from Sophie O'Sullivan. She spent that time early kind of establishing that pace. Had to push her way through to the outside, tried to make some real estate there alongside Lindsey Butler and fight her way to get onto the shoulder of Claudia Kazmierska. Kazmierska has that great turnover, using the upper body. Sophie O'Sullivan uses that bit of the slingshot there off the final turn to project herself to the outside of lane 1. Digging in, look, smiling as she knows she's got it. The Ducks happy to let her take it, knowing that they are securely on and into the final. Lindsey Butler showcasing great 800-meter finishing speed there as well.
It's always good to know you're in the final. There are the advancers to final, 12 athletes. The Ducks have 3, so a lot of point potential for Oregon in this 1500 on Saturday. So the 1500s are done. Next on the track, it'll be 2 semifinal heats of the steeplechase featuring Doris Lemon-Goulet, the collegiate record holder. We are back in Eugene, Oregon. The next event on the track, 2 semifinal heats of the steeplechase. And Doris Lemon-Goulet owns this event at the collegiate level. Collegiate record holder, meet record holder, and defending champion.
She's won 3 national titles, all within the last 12 months, in addition to that steeplechase title last year. She also won the cross-country national championship in the fall, and then the 5,000 at the NCAA indoor meet back in March. She has just dominated the steeplechase since last outdoor season. She broke the collegiate record last year, then bettered her own collegiate record this year. Talking to her coach, Nick Stenoff, he said, today is just about checking the box. You just got to be sure that you're clear, avoid any trouble, and get on into the final. Also worth noting, Dwight, she already has hit that World Championship qualifying standard. So when you talk about implications and athletes to follow through the remainder of the summer track and field season, certainly she is one of those to have your eyes on.
Carrie Balaga of Northern Arizona also in this heat.
Coming off
8th at this event last year.
And coming off a PR at the West Regional, 9:40.13, so showing fine fitness coming into championship season.
And for just a moment there, we saw Taylor Lovell, the sophomore from BYU, who was 9th in this event last year. So just like the 1500, 2 groups of 12. First 5 across the finish line automatically qualify to Saturday's final. They're looking for a 12-runner final. And across the board on the track and in the field, that's how individuals and teams got here. There were 2 first-round events, one in Jacksonville, Florida, one in College Station, Texas. And the best 12 athletes from each of those 2 regionals are here at the national championships. This is the semifinal day, and finals for the women are on Saturday.
And no surprise that you're seeing this pace gonna lag and be very conservative early on, because it's not too often that you're gonna run, 2 steeplechase events over the course of 2 days. So you wanna make this qualifying round as easy as you possibly can as you see Lemon-Goulet navigates that first hurdle. The mantra this past year for Doris Lemon-Goulet has been, from Nick Stenoff, just go be Doris. She had told him last year indoors, just don't hold me back. Let me go, let me do what I love to do, because he had been kind of tactical, pulling the reins a little bit so she didn't get too far ahead of herself, but really has cut her loose going back to last outdoor season. She's really at a fitness level that she's never been before, and even as well as we saw her run at the indoor meet. She gets into her element outdoors. As you see, take a look at how she navigates the water jump here. Really quick, barely even gets a splash there. It almost clears the pit going over it. And one of the ways that they've kind of gained fitness is really running some challenging workouts even ahead of the SEC meet to try to replicate a bit of the format that you have to navigate coming into the NCAA championship season. So that has given her a little bit of confidence in terms of having to run multiple races in multiple days, something she did, of course, at the NCAA indoor championships, which that was the closest finish we've seen her have to fight through in terms of the indoor 3,000 and indoor 5,000 races just a few months ago.
All right, so we're underway in the steeplechase, and Doris is fronting in lane 2 and seems to be having a wonderful time. We'll step aside for a moment and come back with the conclusion of this first steeplechase semifinal. Back in Eugene, Oregon, more of our coverage of the 2025 NCAA Track and Field Championships. It's ladies semifinal day, and we are in the first semifinal of the 3,000-meter steeplechase. 3 laps remaining. This is Doris Lemon-Goulet, the collegiate record holder, the defending champion, the meet record holder, well out in front now. She just really put on a surge in this last lap or so, and she's run much of the race in lane number 2, and Lara, you know why.
Well, yeah, and she just had a 73-second last 400. They're on about 9:29 pace, which would be the fastest qualifying time that we have ever seen at the NCAA Championship, even faster than Courtney Wayman. As Doris comes up on the water jump, you're going to be able to see she's going to swing pretty wide going into the water jump, and that is tactical. That's at the advice of her coach, Nick Stenoff, because of how sharp that turn is. She's going to go wide to the right side of the barrier. So although it looks like she's running extra distance, it's really the most gradual way to come off the turn and take that water barrier. And she's such a rhythm-based steepler. She wants to be sure to avoid anything that is going to break that cadence that she has established, because she's been out there up front all on her own. And you know, last year, Doris Lemon-Goulet broke the collegiate record, but was still so much running on a lot of her raw talent, but really takes critiques and feedback well when she ran that collegiate record earlier this year, 9:10:13. She even looked back at that and said, where can I be better? Let me see the areas of which I could have run even faster, or maybe just executed a smarter race plan. Right on that 9:30 pace. Carrie Beloga has done a great job of positioning herself in that median area, well ahead of the chase pack. So she could be somewhere around her personal best. Beloga coming in having run 9:40 just 2 weeks ago.
Beloga in second place, actually quite a good technical runner. She takes the barriers in the water jump very well. Just to remind everybody, the first 5 finishers in these 2 semifinal heats automatically qualify through to Saturday's final, and then the next 2 fastest times over the 2 heats as Doris Lemon-Goulet comes up to the bell lap with about a 50-meter lead, well within herself.
74 yet again for that 400, and you often see athletes tend to struggle on the latter part of the steeplechase. Doris Lemon-Goulet almost looks better over the second half of the race even than the first half. It's no surprise when you see her dominance. She feels capable of running a 9-flat steeplechase by the end of the summer.
That would put her in contention for a medal at the World Championships in Tokyo later in the summer. So over the water jump for the final time in this semifinal.
You can see again going to the very wide right side, and she just bounds so quickly out of the water as well. When you see the projection that she gets, she's very swift, very efficient out of the water. Be interesting to see how things shake out behind her in terms of qualifying.
She's going to be sub 9:30 in this semifinal, fastest semifinal in this event ever run for collegiate record holder and defending champion Doris Lemon-Goulet of Alabama. Carrie Bolaga, who has been second most of the time in that pack of 4. Those are the automatic qualifiers, that group of 4, plus Doris constitutes the 5 automatic qualifiers through to Saturday's final. So a lot of lifetime bests in that semifinal, including Carrie Bolaga.
And Doris Lemon-Goulet, just, you can see how relaxed and how comfortable that effort was from her. This is where she's gotten just so much stronger over the last year, just in how she navigates the barriers. That cross-country strength has translated well for her through the indoor and into the outdoor season.
There are the official results. The first 5 automatically qualify through, and 6th and 7th place have to hope that those times will hold up as time qualifier through to Saturday's final. And Laura, you will like this. We'll have game 4 of the NBA Finals tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on ABC, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Radio with your Pacers up 2 games to 1. Coverage tips
Yes,
with NBA
sirs.
Countdown at 8. The Heat 2 athletes are gathered on the starting line on that back stretch. Lexi Halliday and Lowry, the senior from BYU, number 5 all-time on the collegiate list in this event.
Also number 3 all-time on the collegiate list in the 5,000 meters. She advanced to the U.S. Olympic trials in the steeplechase last year, taking 9th. The senior, a 5-time NCAA scorer on the track. Also a big part of BYU's national championship cross-country team. Hey, speaking of national championship, cross-country teams, NC State. Among that, Angelina Napoleon, who you just saw, the ACC steeplechase champion, making her 2nd NCAA outdoor appearance.
And some team implications in position number 11, Deborah Chirono, the freshman from Texas A&M. 3rd in the steeple at the conference meet in Kentucky a month ago. Pat Henry looking for some potential points. Every point matters in this national championship title race. The wind seems to have calmed a bit since when we first came on the air. It's about 73 degrees here in Eugene. With no rain in the forecast.
Have some events going on in the infield as well. Not sure if that's related at all to holding the start of this race.
While we have a second, and they are getting themselves together to start this race. Let's take a look at the Capital One Cup standings as teams compete for a combined $500,000 in student athlete scholarships from Capital One. This encompasses all the sports, all 90 sports in the NCAA, and you can see that Ohio State on the men's side has a healthy lead over Penn State and Florida. Things a little bit tighter between North Carolina and Stanford, but they are way ahead of 3rd and 4th place Northwestern and Penn State in the Capital One Cup standings, with the collegiate athletics season coming to a close.
And Dwight, I was able to observe here that they're cleaning up something on the track not too far past the finish line, near where the barrier is out in lane 4. So they're tending to an issue on the track before they are clear to start this race. Have a couple of the facilities grounds crew here addressing that, and it looks like all of that has been addressed, getting the white flag over here just below our booth position.
So I'm sure these 12 athletes anxious to get things started. They've been out there for a while now. Again, it's not cold by any stretch of the imagination. Probably pretty close to ideal conditions, considering they'll be going over the water jump 7 times. They bypass it the first time, as well as not having to navigate that first barrier that comes up right after the turn meets the straight. That barrier will be rolled in position once the field clears.
Lexi Halliday-Lowry, one of 7 BYU distance runners that Diljit Taylor has brought here to Eugene. She really comes from the great strength base with both 5K and steeple prowess, and has this ability to grind when it gets really hard in races. So you look to her to be one of those who will likely push the pace just a little bit with this field.
By the way, the bubble time 9:52.08. That was a 7th place time in the first semifinal. So if you are not in the top 5, you want to be faster than 9:52.08 if you want to qualify through to Saturday's final.
NC State's Angelina Napoleon doing a great job of positioning herself up front alongside Lexi Halliday-Lowry as they prepare to go over that first water jump.
Took 9:54.53 to get into the final last year. So the 12 runner field is nicely stretched out. So we will step aside. And when we return, we will bring you the conclusion of this second semifinal in the steeplechase. All right, back to the second semifinal in the steeplechase. Less than 4 laps remaining now, and there's a group of 6 plus 1 probably up front. Not much has changed in terms of leading. Still Angelina Napoleon and Lexi Halliday-Lowry up front. Deborah Chirono of Texas A&M is in that mix of automatic qualifiers, the top 5 finishers qualifying through to the final on Saturday.
Angelina Napoleon really strong over that water barrier right there. And in talking to her coach, Lori Hennes, she said that Angelina really scratched her way into the NCAA championships as a freshman and was kind of happy to be here. Now she has experience and understands that she has a chance to do really well at this championship. Coach Hennes has talked to her about not making any race different than the other, just approaching this race as you would anything else. Lexi Halliday-Lowry is in great shape. She's looked incredibly relaxed this entire time. Also up in the mix, you have from Washington, that is Maggie Liebeck. Dwight, she just started steepling, ran her first steeple about a month ago. Her first real steeplechase competition was at the Big Ten Championship, where she finished 2nd. I asked Washington coach Marisa Powell what has given her the ability to do it. She said, well, she's a good athlete, but she's also just not afraid. So here she is among the top 4 in the NCAA final. Or prelim, I should say, excuse me.
I was remarking that the technique over the water jump and the barriers has improved greatly over the last several seasons amongst the women. Hence the times slowly but surely coming down. And that's a big part of it. It's a very technical race. Aside from the fact that you've got to have good endurance and some leg speed, you also have to navigate these barriers, which do not go over like regular hurdles do, and that water jump.
And part of that comes from just having better racing opportunities to contest this event.
Well, it's been part of the NCAA program for about 20 years now, and the U.S. has had medalists at the World Championship and Olympic level in this event on the women's side. So you have a breakaway group of 5. Those are your automatic qualifiers if they were to finish this way. And they've got a little more than a lap and a half left in this semifinal to do that.
About 9:34 pace right now. Slowed down just a little bit. I was expecting now as they get into this part of the race, you'll see some acceleration coming out of the next water barrier. Napoleon and Halliday Lowry have well separated themselves, have this chase pack of 3. That's Liebig, Tate, and Chirono.
Remember, the bubble time is 9:52.08. So the 6th and 7th place runners right now need to try and stay as close in contact as they possibly can, because they're going to be running times very close to that bubble. As they get to bell, it continues to be Lexi Halliday Lowry and Angelina Napoleon, who, by the way, has pretty much had a smile on her face the entire semifinal. Seems to be having a good time out there.
One of the big influences for Lexi Halliday Lowry has been Courtney Wayman, who continues to train with Coach Diljit Taylor with the pro group in Provo. And Courtney Wayman has been such a good example for Lexi of what it takes to be great in this event and make it at the next level. So she's bringing in a ton of confidence, having kind of that example and a bit of that blueprint to follow. Chirono looks like she's going to try to make a move here going over the water jump. These two have been content to be shoulder to shoulder for about the last 6 laps.
So coming down the finishing straight, it's still Lexi Halliday Lowry and Angelina Napoleon. 1-2. Here comes Deborah Chirono. She moves into 3rd. That's Sarah Tate of West Virginia and Great Britain in 4th, and then Maggie Liebig of Washington. Those are your top 5. Those are your automatic qualifiers. And then 6th and 7th need to finish under 9:52.08 if they want to advance to Saturday's final.
You talked about Angelina Napoleon looking like she had a smile on her face nearly the entire time. She's embracing about every single competitor as they come across the line. Again, last year, just happy to kind of be here at the NCAA championships, and now has proven that she belongs and has the opportunity to do something special for the Wolfpack program.
Both the time qualifiers came from this semifinal.
Both athletes running really smart and efficient races. You can see Napoleon looking around just a little bit to ensure that no one's going to sneak up alongside herself and Lexi Halliday Lowry. Now what's going to be interesting is how bold anyone is in the final if they're going to try to take the charge, go up front, and force the pace of Doris Lemon-Golay.
There are the final results. Deborah Chirono of Texas A&M gets a lifetime best. They're in 4th place, automatically qualifies through to the final. That could be points for the Aggies.
Go back.
So different kind of hurdles getting ready to be set up on the track. The 100-meter hurdles on the straightaway are going up as we speak. We will see 3 semifinals in that 100-meter hurdles when we return to Eugene. We're back in Eugene, Oregon for more of our coverage of the NCAA Track and Field Championships ladies semifinal day. We have some breaking news on the track from the first event of the day. Look, 3 lanes from your left, all black, Georgia Bulldogs, final exchange. That yellow line coming up, that is the end of the zone. USC has already passed, they're in first. Look at what happens. The baton has not been passed, and they're well past that yellow line. Georgia disqualified for making the pass out of the zone. Here's a closer look. You can see it isn't that she ran away from her. She slowed down a little bit, but they just ran out of real estate. That 20-meter zone got very, very small very, very quickly. So Georgia out, no scoring opportunities for them. The benefactor, the LSU Tigers, will now advance into Saturday's 4x100-meter final, and no opportunity for Georgia to get points in the sprint relay.
Well, that was Sanaa Frederick to Dejanay Oakley, and they'll be smarting about that because you work all season long to put yourself in a position to run in the finals here at the NCAA meet in that relay. Coach Carroll will not be happy about that.
All right, the hurdles are on the track. Collegiate record held by Olympic champion Masai Russell, who never won this meet, by the way, nor did she ever win her conference meet. Brianna Rollins, a former Olympic champion, also the meet record holder. There's Annalise Torian, the sophomore from Auburn. She will start in lane number 6, a transfer from Alabama A&M, runner-up at the SEC outdoor meet a month ago.
Well, great round one for her in the East there. She broke a school record that's set by Vanette Dixon clear back in 2000. So congratulations to her, 25 years later. And there you see the senior from UCLA, Yanla Njipniamek.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, right. The Belgian national champion and the Big Ten runner-up. And, you know, Joanna Hayes, of course she's going to have hurdlers, right? When you become the head coach at UCLA, your alma mater, you are going to find hurdlers. And there is Kiara Smith, one of a couple of Tennessee hurdlers that we are going to mention here in these semifinals. Coach Dwayne Ross said that he had to regather his hurdlers after the SEC meet and just really start focusing on their own lanes. There's too much looking around, too much distraction. You've got to just concentrate on your lane and only your lane. It's real easy to do, easy to get distracted at those big meets. So that's going to be the focus for these young Tennessee athletes.
For purposes of this meet, she will be Yanla in lane number 5 for UCLA. So just like all the sprint races with 3 semifinals, the first 2 finishers automatically qualifying through to Saturday's final, then the next 3 fastest times over the 3 semifinals that did not automatically qualify. So if you're not finishing the top 2, you want to dig for the line, because hundredths of a second matter about getting in the final, and it's all about getting in the final. There's Annalise Torian, lane 6. Yanla next to her on her right, and then Kiara Smith of Tennessee in lane number 4.
Marcia Say of Howard goes in lane 3. Got a chance to talk to David Oliver, and he's thrilled. He's got a number of hurdlers, not only the short hurdles, but the long hurdles as well. She's along with the 3 you mentioned, Dwight, she's the only other athlete in this heat that has gone under 13 flat this season.
Hold. Yanla came up late, but she got a great start. Yanla in the middle of the track wearing the UCLA baby blue. Yanla. And now down in lane number 3. That's Marcia Say. Ooh, it's going to be close between Say and Torian at the line. But Yanla Njipniamek, clear winner, 12:71. And the wind is okay. So a new lifetime best for the Belgian hurdler from UCLA. She had a teammate in that race, Celeste Bolzanetti, the freshman from Italy. Also, let's see if we can separate them. Yanla clearly ahead, but Torian is going to get second. Absolutely.
Well, Annalise Torian did a really good job of just holding her composure. She's a little bit taller. She has to cut down her stride in between, but she really ran off that last hurdle, secured that second spot. But nice run by Yanla there. And what's interesting, Dwight, is when you see a nice smooth hurdle race like that, it doesn't look like the athlete's working very hard. Congratulations, her outstanding time there for the top 3 athletes as well.
And only her coach, Joanna Hayes, has run faster at UCLA than Yanla has. That's quite the distinction. And Reggie Torian's daughter, Annalise Torian, ends up with the other automatic qualifying spot. Okay, let's step aside. There are field events. including a very important one in this team title race, Hammer.
Well, and after the bad news we saw in the 4x1 relay, maybe the Georgia Bulldogs will get some good news. There's Stephanie Ratcliffe. She's already won this title back in 2023 while she was at Harvard. And she is the national leader coming in. But here is Lara Roberts, the sophomore from Texas State. The Bobcat on her second attempt, the Sunbelt Outdoor champ, would get things rolling early on in this competition. 231 feet even. And she will finish in third position today. But here's your collegiate leader in the fourth round. She's got the best throw this season. One of the most experienced athletes in the group. And she would launch one as they came back from the break. From prelims to finals in the fourth round, she'd go out to the lead, 234 feet, 2 inches. She represented Australia in the Paris Olympics. This is Shelby Frank, the senior from Texas Tech. And on her sixth round, she would save her best throw for the final. The transfer from Minnesota would go 233.1 for an all-time personal best, and she would finish in a solid second place. But Ratcliffe would come away with the victory, the only athlete to ever win the women's hammer for 2 different schools. And there you see 10 big points for the Georgia Bulldogs. So even though we saw the disqualification, Georgia Bulldogs, they can still get a lot of points. There you see Rotunda, a freshman. She'll be competing in the javelin. They got 2 javelin throwers, and then Kolachenko, certainly a factor, going to be a factor, maybe a factor to win that high jump. So lots of scoring opportunities for the Georgia Bulldogs still here today.
All right, second of 3 semifinal heats in these women's hurdles. There's Aaliyah McCormick, junior from Oregon. She will start out in lane number 5.
Well, Aaliyah McCormick said there's no better way to finish off a season than a championship. She's going to go out here and give it a great effort, and she says it's an honor being able to compete in the national championships on your home track. And you knew she was going to get a big round of applause. And there you see the other Tennessee athlete, Mariana Beebe, had a big win at the SEC Indoor Championship. And the rest of her season, though, Dwight, has gone up and down. She's had some really good races, and she's had some pitfalls as well. But we'll see if she can focus in on her lane and only her lane and get through. And there's a Kayla Garrett. Tell you, this kid showed us a lot of toughness at the SEC Championships when she false started out of the 100-meter hurdles, came back to win the 400-meter hurdles. But she is definitely a gamer and going to be a factor here. She's run at a 13 flat this season.
Let me make a correction from the first heat. Joanna Hayes, not the fastest UCLA hurdler ever. Gail Devers, twice the 100-meter Olympic champion and a pretty good hurdler in her own right, world champion. In fact, Gail Devers is the school record holder at UCLA. My apologies to Gail.
I'm sure Jackie Joyner's on that list somewhere as well.
Absolutely. The bubble is 13:21. Remember, the first 2 across the line automatically qualifying through to Saturday's final. And Kayla Garrett puts her hand up. There was a movement by Emmy Scales of Kentucky, repositioning herself on the blocks. That made Kayla a little uncomfortable. Best thing you can do, put your hand up, get up, refocus.
And what was interesting is Kiara Smith of Tennessee in that lane 4 with that same set of blocks had a little bit of an issue at the start of her race as well. There was just a little bit of a delay. And there you see Emmy Scales. She didn't look like she was comfortable at all with the foot placement on that front block there. She goes the left foot in front.
McCormick with a good start. Scales as well, out fast. It's Scales, and then on that go Wilson, Nico Wilson of Clemson out in lane 8. Now here comes Aaliyah McCormick. It's McCormick. The crowd loves it, and it looks like it might be a Kayla Garrett who ended up with that second automatic qualifier, but Aaliyah McCormick made a move around hurdle 5 or 6 and catapulted herself right into the lead, and the crowd just carried her home. 12:76 for the junior from Oregon. Winning the heat, it was Kayla Garrett, second at 12:93, and Wilson at 12:95.
Well, when you look at Aaliyah McCormick, she doesn't ever seem to get a fantastic start, but she's one of those athletes that can just pick a hurdle and pick a spot in between two hurdles and say, this is where I'm going to make separation. And she does that right between hurdles 6 and 7 and just pulls away. And there's Mariana Beebe going down. That's not the first time we've seen her go down this season, but a nice run by the junior from Oregon, and she certainly does not disappoint this home crowd, as she looks grateful to cross the line in first place.
McCormick just 200ths off her lifetime best. Kayla Garrett gets a lifetime best, and Oneka Wilson has to hope that 12:95 holds up as a time qualifier, as the bubble will move down just before this third and final semifinal. Third semifinal getting ready. This is Jaya Covington, a junior from Texas A&M. Won the NCAA indoor 60 hurdle title, and third at the conference meet in Kentucky a month ago. Bubble has moved down to 13:01.
Well, we talked about the Texas A&M Aggies there and the depth and certainly the balance they had on their team, and she certainly is a big part of that. Here you get a chance to Jaya Covington. She won the NCAA Indoor Championship, and then you see the great sprinters there. Jasmine Montgomery, what a close on that 4x1. We've already seen nice shot there by Jasmine Montgomery, and Cameron Dixon. We'll see her in the open 100 and the 200 as well. But had a chance to talk to Coach Henry about Jaya, and he said her goal here at these championships, she's got to get back down onto the ground. She's spending too much time in the air. She needs to get down on the ground. That is where you get back into sprinting position, and it will make or break you when it comes to hurdling. And here is the best hurdler in the country, Habiba Harris, the freshman. Showed up in Gainesville in January, and she absolutely, just no pun intended, hit the ground running, just running fast from the day she got onto campus. Opened up at the Tom Jones Invitational, has been steady Eddie all outdoor season, and won an SEC title amidst a lot of chaos. The freshman showed a lot of composure, came away with an SEC title, and ran really well in round 1 in that Eastern Division. This is Marissa Simpson, 7-time Conference USA champ, and she is a gamer out there as well. But she's going to have her hands full with Habiba Harris and Jaya Covington. And Tabukbo from Central Florida, UCF there in lane 3. She's running under 13 flat as well. So a very good heat here. Janella Spencer of Ohio State, 12:94 for her, goes in lane 7.
I mentioned the bubble has moved down to 13:01. Last year it took 12:77 to get into the final.
Marissa Simpson at UTEP has had 5 different coaches in 4 years, and she's been second team All-American, and she said this is the year she's going to be first team and make the finals.
So Simpson in 4, Harris in 5, Covington in 6. Only 2 automatically qualify. Good start for Simpson in 4. Also Tabukbo in 3. Tabukbo. Now here comes Harris. Here comes Covington. It's going to be very close for the 2 top spots. It's Harris and Covington across the line first. Those are your automatic qualifiers. 12:84 for Harris. 12:87 for Covington. Just 100th of a second off of her lifetime best.
Well, I think you can see Habiba Harris, she could feel the pressure. When you see her sprint without the hurdles, you can definitely see that she's got that Jamaican influence there. But here comes Jaya Covington about midway down the straight. She begins to put the pressure on, but a nice job by Jaya getting back down onto the ground. But look at Habiba Harris. She doesn't stress, doesn't get worried at all. That is just not freshman-like to show up in a national championship and have that much composure. A heat victory for the Gator.
So one of the few events we've seen so far where the qualifying time is slower than last year, but those are your 9 qualifiers to finals on Saturday, led by Yanla Ndip Naimek of UCLA. All right, they'll remove the hurdles but keep the distance the same. The flat sprinters are on the track for 3 semifinals in the 100 meters. All right, we're back in Eugene. The hurdles are off the track, and the flat sprinters are ready to go. Here are the records. Carrie Richardson, the Olympic silver medalist in 100 meters, has the collegiate record and the meet record, and the fastest in the country this year is also from LSU, Tima Godbless, who we will see in a later heat. Here's India Mayberry, the freshman from TCU, has been having a fantastic year, NCAA indoor 200-meter champion.
Well, we already got a look at her in the 4x100 meters where she came storming back to get TCU into the finals of that 4x1, but she is gonna have a tough heat here. Fantastic times though at both of the round 1 locations, east and west. We saw some outstanding running. Shanice Walker of Florida State, she ran 10:98. Samira Moody goes in lane 4, but Mayberry in lane 8, Walker in 5, Moody in 4.
Mayberry winning 4 Big 12 titles this year. An excellent start for Mayberry as well. You can see her with a bow, or that's Samira Moody, I should say. And next to her, Anthea Charlton. Charlton from Florida taking this first heat. A little bit of a surprise. The junior from the Bahamas just shifted gears at about 30 meters. 10:87 with legal wind. That's a huge lifetime best for the junior and a collegiate leader in the heats of the 100 meters here at the NCAA championships.
Well, she came in with a windy personal best of 10:98, but there you see it, Charlton second from the right. We're expecting this race to go off in the middle of the track with Moody and Walker, but look at Charlton just take over. Certainly we're going to get a chance to see her in the long jump later today, and she's the younger sister of Devin Charlton, the indoor world record holder in the 60-meter hurdles, but both young ladies from the Bahamas. Charlton, we saw her in the finals of the SEC championships, but wow, what a run that was.
She ain't coming back.
A revelation, and now she'll be somebody to really be somebody to contend with. Really be somebody to contend with in the finals.
It's Nick Peterson, the Gators horizontal jumps coach, giving her some advice about how to prepare now for the long jump. That's the fastest semifinal ever run at these championships, faster than Julian Allred, the Olympic champion, ran. There are your top 2 finishers automatically qualifying through. They blew the field away. Charlton and Moody both through automatically to Saturday's final. While we got a moment, let's go over and catch up with what's happening in the women's pole vault.
Well, the pole vault should be a special event this year. Some world-class jumping here. There you saw the Ball sisters sandwiched there. Emily Fitzsimmons of Oregon. And also in the competition, Johanna Duplantis, younger sister of Mondo Duplantis. He just took the world lead in Oslo today. But she's somebody who will keep an eye on. But there you see the Ball sisters up at the University of Washington. They're very familiar with this facility. This is Amanda Mall on her first attempt at 13:11. They passed 13:05. Bar went up to 13:11, but look at how easy Amanda gets over that on a first attempt. Nice tailwind over there in the pole vault today. And here's Hannah Mall. Hannah Mall, the number 10 ranked jumper in the world this year. Easy make for her. And Amanda, her sister, the number 2 world ranked jumper in the world, and they are number 1 and 2 all time in the collegiate ranks. There's some other athletes that we're going to see in addition to the Ball sisters. Maya Lesnar, she won that indoor title when we were up in Boston. She's going to be a factor here in the shot put. And then the Olympian from Louisville, Jaden Ulrich, will go in the discus. She is the collegiate leader.
The The Mull sisters were great high school vaulters. They went to Washington. They're coached by Olympic silver medalist Toby Stevenson. So he just keeps cranking out great vaulters up there in Seattle as we get ready now for the second of 3 semifinals heats in this 100 meters. Leah Bertrand, the senior from Ohio State, a Paris Olympian, 4-time Big Ten champ. She will start out in lane number 5 from Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, she closed out the season really strong, picking up personal best in both the 100 meters and the 200 meters in that East round 1 meet. She's gone back-to-back races under 11 flat. There's Jasmine Montgomery. I'll tell you, she didn't waste any time getting off the track after the 4x1. And she looks to be a factor here. And there is Tima God Bless, the national leader. Nobody's run faster in the collegiate ranks than her this season.
Until the last heat.
Yes, until the last heat. But she's run the fastest non-windy time of the year until the last heat. But she's a strong starter. At this meet last year, though, Tima God Bless became the first freshman woman in the nation to earn 3 first All-American honors since Sha'Carri Richardson did it in 2019.
So God Bless in lane 3, Montgomery in 4, and Leah Bertrand in 5. And don't discount Cameron Dixon of A&M all the way on the right of your screen in lane 2. God Bless out well in lane number 3. It's God Bless dominating. Here comes Bertrand trying to get that second spot, but it is Tima God Bless is going to win it with Bertrand really closing hard. The wind is over the allowable 2.2 meters per second. 1091 for Tima God Bless, which, oh, they gave it to Bertrand. Okay. They both have the same exact time. That's very, very close. They are both the automatic qualifiers into Saturday's final. 2.2 meters per second of wind. So, and they both run right around that time legal.
And there you see them congratulate each other. But Tima God Bless, we know that she's got a fantastic start. And the part of the race that she has needed to work on all season is the end of the race. There you see Tima God Bless second from the right. Boom, she's up into running position. Leah Bertrand blazing away in the middle of the track. But look at the move that Bertrand makes here at the very end. Tima God Bless needs to continue to hold her posture together. She has a tendency to lean, get a little bit too far forward with the upper body as she gets close to the line instead of hold that running posture. Nice run by both those athletes, dipping under 11 flat.
Well, they are separated by 1/1000th of a second. So I feel better about that. Pretty much a dead heat, but they were both automatic qualifiers into Saturday's final. Victoria Cameron and Jasmine Montgomery will have to wait to see if those times will hold up as time qualifiers with 1 semifinal remaining. The bubble goes down to 11:07. It was 11:18 last year to get through to the final. As we look at Deja Defrand, the junior from Southern California, transfer from Florida State, won the NCAA indoor 60 meters back in Virginia Beach in March.
So Deja Defrand has run a lot of great races this outdoor season, but she's yet to dip under 11 flat, and I think she is absolutely ready to. She's made the finals here in the last 2 times she's been to the championships while she competed at Florida State. She is ready for a big race. And then right next to her in lane 6 is Jamisha Ford. Probably one of the biggest surprises this year, Dwight, is, you know, Jamisha Ford, she had a great season last year as a freshman, running the 200 and then moving up to the 400 for the relays and 400 meters at the Olympic trials. But to see Jamisha Ford move down to the 100 meters and be so effective and so good this year, I think it even surprised her a little bit. She said she wasn't sure that she had that kind of speed. She's constantly working on her start, but you know when she gets into the race, she gets halfway through. 500 meters, 600 meters, you know she's going to put that 200 meter strength into play. There's Joella Lloyd, the transfer from Tennessee. She has been all over these finals for years while at Tennessee, now at Florida State.
She hails from Antigua. So Lloyd in 4, Dufresne in 5, and Jamesia Ford in 6. Ford was a finalist at the Olympic trials last year in the 400 meters. Good start for Jamesia Ford, but a better start for Deja Dufresne. Also, Brianna Selby of Southern Cal. Here comes Jamesia Ford. She's going to win it. Dufresne second. Those are your automatic qualifiers. The wind is legal. 10.87 for Jamesia Ford. She came in with an 11.06 lifetime best. That's a huge lifetime best for the 200-meter sprinter, and it is legal wind.
Well, and also Deja Dufresne, she goes under 11 flat for the first time this outdoors season, so a nice run for her as well. But it was Kayla Kay on the outside. That's Kayla Jackson who got a really solid start. Faded just at the end. I was a little thrown off there by the red hair. Jamesia Ford's hair, it moved right before the gun went off, and I thought that might tip off some people. But look at the turnover here by Jamesia Ford. You see this 200-meter strength just take over, absolutely take over, and she just passes people. And this is the way she's looked all season long, the speed coming into play. It's going to be exciting to see her in the 200 meters later tonight.
And she becomes the co-collegiate leader along with Anthea Charlton, who did that in heat number 1. It took 11.06 to make it through to the final. Last year, 11.18. That is the fastest ever at this meet. 3 women of Troy in the final. All right, we're done with the flat sprinting. Now it's time to go to the oval sprinting. The women's 400 meters, 3 semifinals when we return to Eugene. The NCAA Track and Field Championships continue through Saturday on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN+. For more information, go to ncaa.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships. All right, we're ready now for 3 semifinal heats in the women's 400 meters. Nikisha Price setting that collegiate record last year. Amazing year for the Arkansas Razorbacks, finishing 1st through 4th in this race. Aaliyah Butler has the fastest time amongst collegians this year. She is in this first heat with a lot of team point implications for the Georgia Bulldogs riding on her shoulders.
Well, this young lady is unbeaten in 400 meters outdoors this season, though she's only run the open 400 meters 3 different times, and that says a lot about what she plans on doing for the rest of the summer, going to the U.S. Championship, trying to make a World Championship team. And here is Rosie Effiong. She was 4th last year, but the Arkansas Razorbacks, they went 1, 2, 3, 4. We call that a super sweep. But imagine running 49.72 last year and getting 4th place. But that's Nikisha Price up front, Kaylin Brown in 2nd position, and Amber Anning there with the white ribbon in her hair, and Rosie Effiong not far behind. But those 4 would get together and run a phenomenal 4x400 meter relay. But Rosie Effiong now celebrating her final season as an Arkansas Razorback. Look for her to get into the final. She's in lane 5. And then Yemi John of USC, the junior, another Olympian, but 2 Olympians in Rosie Effiong and Aaliyah Butler, both on Team USA next to each other, and Yemi John from Team GB, Team Great Britain, out there in lane 7.
Arkansas scored 28 points in that women's 400 on the way to the team title. Same qualification, 3 semifinals, as they call them up. First 2 finishers automatically qualifying to Saturday's final, and then the next 3 fastest times over the 3 semifinals. There's Yemi John, junior, from Great Britain and USC.
Well, USC is staying at the same hotel we are, so we get a chance to see these athletes up close. Yemi John's one of those gritty athletes. She always figures out a way, find her way to the front. Great on a relay. You can always trust her to mix it up out there. Really trustworthy person that you know, it doesn't matter what leg you put her on, you know you're going to get a great effort out of her.
The Brits would say that she's very useful.
There you go.
So Effie Young in 5, Butler in 6, John in 7.
Set.
Away in the first of 3 semifinals in the 400 meters. And Butler is out very aggressively in the first 100 meters, making up a stagger on John to her outside. Effiong going with her.
And Coach Carroll said it was hard to convince Aaliyah Butler that she had the ability to do this, but once she managed to do it a couple of times and this really pushed the pace of the first 250 meters, she began to believe in herself and trust the process. And Aaliyah Butler is all about just the process, being present each and every day and seeing the little improvements. As Rosie Effiong, certainly not going to let Butler get too far away from her.
It's Butler, Effiong, and Kalia Liebert of Florida State, who's now fading. John well back. It's Butler and Effiong. Those are your automatic qualifiers. 50-16 for the winner, and there's some wind out there. We can feel it up here in our broadcast position.
Well, Aaliyah Butler qualified at 50-68, but Coach Carroll Smith Gilbert said this is the last check in the box. SEC title, she's made an Olympic team. She wants an NCAA title, and she cruises through easily to the final. Look at the relaxation there by both Rosie Effiong and Aaliyah Butler. Jaw slack, relaxation in the neck and the shoulders.
There's the official results. Butler winning it in 50-16. Rosie Effiong second, automatically through to the final. The bubble is 52-23 with 2 semifinals still to run. So as we wait for that second semifinal group to get ready, step aside and get an update on the javelin from Dan.
All right, early stages here in the women's javelin. This is Kate Jorsa, senior from North Carolina, transfer from Princeton. This was her second attempt, 183 feet, 10 inches. She was third at the ACC Outdoor Championships this year. Jana van Schalkwijk, the senior from UCLA, second attempt for her, like young lady from South Africa. She was second at the Big Ten Championships. And she would smash one out there inside that 60-meter line on her second attempt, 187 feet, 3 inches. We're only into the second round here in this first flight. Georgia ladies go in flight 2. Flight 2 is warming up, so we have concluded that first section, and we'll see flight 2 in a matter of moments.
Final preparations for the runners in heat number 2 of this 400 meters, featuring Kaylin Brown, the sophomore from Arkansas. Top returner. She was the runner-up last year as part of that Arkansas Super Sweep. Her personal best is number 2 on the all-time collegiate list.
Well, maybe the biggest surprise last season was Kaylin Brown running so fast as a freshman. There you see Ella Onajuvuevo of LSU. She goes in lane 7. Another Paris Olympian, Kaylin Brown, and an Olympian as well.
She will be Ella during this race.
There you go. Onajuvuevo's not as tough as some of the other names that we've seen, not as tough as this young lady's name, but Bimbaya Mizvorewa, the senior from Auburn, the Zimbabwean indoor national record holder, should be returning here for the second time. She did not make the finals last year, but go back to Kaylin Brown. Maybe the biggest surprise is she had so many races last year under 50 seconds. I think what's surprising this year is she hasn't been under 50 seconds. She's run some really quality races got a little bit of a late start due to a slight injury indoors. She seems to be coming around every race outdoors. She runs just a little bit better, but it's unfair for us to judge her from last year's performances because it was just a dream season for the freshman.
3 Arkansas Razorbacks in this second semifinal heat. Only 2 can automatically qualify. Masperwewa in lane 5, Brown in 6, and Onojuevo in lane number 7. Reasonably even, with Brown making a move on the backstretch.
Aaliyah Pyatt in there as well. Scenario Butler from Arkansas. And you just see the style of Arkansas runners. They like to push the pace early on.
So the 3 we featured are the 3 that are leading. Onojuevo now into the lead. The fight for second place between Kaylin Brown and Mbaya Masverwewa. It's going to be Onojuevo and Brown, the automatic qualifiers out of heat number 2. .50.31 her winning time. That's a lifetime best for her.
Well, you kind of wondered how she was so far ahead of Kaylin Brown there at the end of that run, but Onojuevo ran a strong second to Leah Butler at the SEC Championships, and here she comes up with a big performance, lifetime personal best. See Kaylin Brown doing what she always does. Whether she's in distress or not, she continues to absolutely look the same, so a nice solid place finish for her. There you see the determination on Ella's face. She comes away with a victory. Nice solid victory there for the LSU Tiger.
So Ella and Kaylin both advancing. Bambayi has to wait to see if that 51.19 will hold up. The bubble is currently 51.40. Most sisters are in a little trouble in the pole vault. Let's go over for an update from Dan.
All right, so we got the bar at 4 meters 39. This is 14 4 3/4. And this is Amanda Mall, and that's a second attempt miss for her. And you can see she's miles over the top of that. And here is Hannah Mall. This is her second attempt as well. Nice run down the runway, good plan, and she hits it on the way up. So different issues for each of them, but 2 misses here early in the competition for the number 1 and number 2 ranked pole vaulters in the country this year.
For those uninitiated, in the pole vault, you can move the plane of the standards where the crossbar is going to be based on what pole you're using, how high you're holding, but you've got to be strategic. You've got to work the wind. You've got to know a lot about what's going on in order to put that in the right place as we get ready for the 3rd and final semifinal in these 400-meter heats. And this is Rachel Joseph, the junior from Iowa State. She swept the Big 12 400-meter crowns both indoor and outdoor this year.
Well, second best time in the country this season in the 400 meters. And get this, Dwight, 16 times she's broken the 400-meter record at Iowa State, indoors and outdoors. And that's about right. But she's run really quick, 50.66 this season. Look for her there in lane 6. Dejanay Oakley. She was part of that disqualification that we saw in that 4x100 meters, but Dejanay Oakley has been running phenomenal this season. Training partners with Aaliyah Butler and trained by Kareem Abdel-Wahab, who's done a wonderful job with the 400 meters, but she has her race really dialed in this season. She hasn't been under 50 seconds this year, but I think she is ready. Talk about consistency with Dejanay Oakley. She's run really well between 50.50 and 51.50 all season long. And Javanya Valcourt, twice she's been here to the semifinals. Can she finally break through and get to the finals? But she competed at the Paris Olympics, competing for the Bahamas.
So there are the lane assignments with Joseph in 6, Oakley in 7, and Valcourt in 8. Obviously, and Oakley, Georgia needing as many opportunities to score in the finals as possible. Oakley, a transfer from Texas.
Another Arkansas runner there in the far outside in lane 9, Joanna Reed.
And they're away in the third and final semifinal of the 400 meters. The bubble, 51:40. If you aren't in the top 2, you need to run faster than that to get a lane in Saturday's final. Semi Oblad making a move in the middle of that backstretch. And Oakley now making her presence known going into the far turn.
Well, real steady running fire for Dejanay Oakley right there. Sure, she had a 200-meter split time that she was trying to get to, but now Rachel Joseph begins to respond and put the pressure on Oakley to her outside.
Oakley in the lead. Rachel Joseph is there. Those are going to be your top 2 qualifiers. Oakley's finishing strong.
Quick time.
50:19. That is a lifetime best for Dejanay Oakley, winning this third and final semifinal. Rachel Joseph finishing second. Let's go back over to the pole vault very quickly before we get to the results of this heat.
Okay, Amanda Mall, third attempt, 14.4 3/4. You've got some coaches feeling the tension up in the stands, and she would go clean on that third attempt. Phew. And third attempts can do a lot for your blood pressure as a coach.
So there are your advancers to final. It took 51:35 this year to get through. And Aaliyah Butler and Dejanay Oakley carrying the hopes of the Georgia Bulldogs team title with the first 2 times in the 400 semifinals. All right, when we return, we will go around the track twice. Michaela Rose trying to make it a three-peat. She'll be in the first heat when we come back. 3 semifinal heats in the women's 800. Athing Mo, the Olympic champion from Tokyo, is the collegiate record holder. Meet record still by Susie Faber Hamilton. Michaela Rose with the fastest time in the country this year amongst collegians. I was thinking back to the conference when she three-peated. She did not win this event last year. Juliet Whitaker of Stanford did, and then went on to make an Olympic team. But Michaela Rose has been dominant in this event over the last several years. And you can see her resume, only part of her resume right there. As we were looking through the field, we found that 1/3 of it, 8 of the athletes in this field have gone sub 2 minutes. That was something that was rare just a few years ago.
And no one has run sub 159 more than Michaela Rose. She's done it 4 times in her collegiate career. The only collegian faster than Michaela Rose is Athing Mo. That's one of the reasons I do think that meet record could fall by the end of the weekend, set by Susie Faber back in 1990. And we know Michaela Rose loves to get to the front. She has that aggressive front running style. Part of the reason is she really likes to settle into a rhythm, and being out front allows her to establish her rhythm and control the pace. Watch out for Victoria Bossong of Harvard. She ran a really gritty race at the NCAA Indoor Championships to finish runner-up.
Michaela Rose controlling things from the front. Same configuration when there's 3 semifinals. The first 2 finishers automatically qualifying to the final. Then 3 fastest times over the 3 semifinals that were not automatic qualifiers. 56.9 opening 400 for Michaela Rose. Very solid, aggressive, but she has company.
And Michaela Rose has always run with great speed. In the last year, we've seen her run with great strength to complement it too, which has made her even tougher. Lauren Tolbert is moving very well from Duke. She has impressive 200 and 400 meter speed that's allowing her to hang with Michaela Rose. Victoria Bossong up there as well, then Laura Pellicoro of Portland.
Michaela Rose, as usual, controlling things from the front, but always having to push all that air away from in front of her. She doesn't draft off anyone when she's in the lead, but looking strong with 100 meters to go. It is Rose, followed by Tolbert. Those are your 2 automatic qualifiers right now. And that's a lot of real estate to make up for Bossong. So it's Rose and Tolbert who will, and 158.89. That is a meet record, taking down a 35-year-old record of 159.11 set by Susie Favor of Wisconsin, a 9-time NCAA champion. Michaela Rose has finally done it.
And she basically trotted in the last 10 to 15 meters. I mean, she really shut it down and really had no one alongside her pushing her. Lauren Tolbert was the only one who was in contact. Michaela Rose, her legacy at LSU is solidified with what she has already done, but she would love to add another NCAA title to that storied resume.
Her 5th time under 159, and this was just a heat. But while we have a moment, let's go back over to the pole vault.
When we saw Amanda Mall get over 14.4 3/4, Hannah Mall, 3rd attempt. Tense times up there with the University of Washington coaches. Good plan and a clean make there by Hannah Mall. Now the bar is going to go to 14.6 3/4, and there still is 11 competitors in that women's pole vault. Outstanding jumping here this afternoon.
A new meet record by Michaela Rose winning that heat. Lost in all of the excitement is Lauren Tolbert going under 2 minutes for the first time in her career, again in a heat. As we move along to heat number 2, and this is BYU senior Megan Hunter, who's number 3 on the all-time list in this event.
And being here at this NCAA championship is such a testament to the perseverance of Megan Hunter. Just before starting her college career at BYU, she was in a rollover crash. You can see the vehicle there on the right side of your screen. There you go, a picture of that car that she was in. She was in the passenger seat, rolled several times. She suffered a neck injury, broke her neck, that nearly left her paralyzed. Doctors told her it could take years for her to ever run again, let alone run competitively. And although she had healed physically, she still endured a lot of the mental trauma in getting back onto the track. And I asked her head coach, Diljit Taylor, what kept Megan Hunter from giving up? And Coach Taylor said she just hoped and prayed this opportunity would eventually come. And now she has an opportunity to be one of those contending for an NCAA championship at 800 meters.
There are your lane assignments. With Megan Hunter in the center of the track, lane number 5. She has run under 159 for a lifetime best. She did that just a couple weeks ago.
She's actually done that in the last 3 races. So she's been incredibly consistent since hitting that 159. Also in this field, keep your eyes on Michaela Page. She's there in that baby blue of UNC. She was the indoor national champion at 800 meters earlier this year.
Smilia Kolbe of North Florida and Germany, who's number 4 on the all-time collegiate list, having run 159.02.
And Colby got into the NCAA indoor meet because there was a late scratch. And when she got the call, she said, let's go show them what I can do. She ended up 5th in that meet after being a very late addition.
Kolbe leading the first 400 through in 59 seconds. That is Michaela Page right behind her. And then Megan Hunter in 3rd. Remember, just the first 2 across the line automatically qualifying through to the final.
Page has been on a tear since winning the indoor championship. She has set PRs in the 15, the 8, and the 400 meters. You can see Megan Hunter making a big move down the back stretch.
Pushing that 3rd 200 just like you're supposed to. So it is Hunter, then Page, then Colby. 3 athletes in it with only 2 automatic qualifying positions up for grabs. Hunter and Page that's how they're going to finish. Page actually wins the heat, 1:59.88 unofficially, with Hunter right next to her, both under 2 minutes. It took 2:87 to make it through to the final last year.
One thing you can't help but notice when Michaela Page, runs 1:59.92, she's so efficient in how she does it. Even as she came off that turn and started to build into her kick, look how smoothly she progresses there to the outside of Megan Hunter. Incredibly efficient with that turnover. This is where she starts to dig in a little bit, starts to grit it out, but you can see how relaxed still she is in her upper body, even as that pace quickens. Very comfortable in qualifying through to see those athletes on to the final.
The two under 2 minutes are automatically through. Kolbe at 2:70 is a likely finalist, but there's still one heat remaining. All right, Decathlon Day 2 started today, and first event is the 110 hurdles.
And this is some of the dudes that John said we were going to see today here on the ladies qualifying day. But Peyton Bear, he was your leader after day 1, 4,479 points. And this day got started real early for the decathletes, 9:45 a.m. There you see Marcus Weaver, your SEC champ, 63 degrees when these guys got going. There you see Peyton Bear in the middle of the track. That's Grant Levesque to your outside with white top and crimson bottoms. But keep an eye on Peyton Bear because he is your leader by quite a few points. He'll tighten those hips, but he's trying to use that 100-meter speed, get over all 10 hurdles and get over all 10 hurdles safely. At this point, Peyton Bear just has to finish strong. And here is the senior Marcus Weaver, Mr. Excitement, in one of the slower heats. Kind of labored there over the last couple of hurdles, but he would get to the finish line. And look at the strain on Marcus Weaver's face. But he was making a move in the last 3 events of day 1, and here he makes a nice move on day 2 as he slowly begins to climb up that leaderboard.
Back for semifinal number 3 of the 800-meter. Here's Roisin Willis, junior from Stanford. 3rd at the 800 meters at the ACC outdoor meet. She's the top returner in this event, was the runner-up last year.
She was the runner-up to her teammate Juliet Whitaker at this championship meet last year. Roisin Willis does have an NCAA indoor 800-meter title to her credit. She was also part of Stanford's national championship distance medley relay 2 years ago. Gladys Kipnitich of Clemson, she was the ACC outdoor 800-meter champion. She's also 10th on the all-time collegiate list, having run 1:59.47 just a couple weeks ago at that East Regional meet to qualify on for the NCAA championships. And then from the University of Kentucky, Janet Kemboy Amimo. She was the runner-up at the conference meet in the 1500, also took 6th in the 800, had double duty in that meet, now focusing on the 800 meters as she gets into the NCAA championship season, but showcases just that strength that she was building coming into the NCAA cycle.
There are the lane assignments. 3rd and final semifinal in this 800 meters. The bubble is 2:01.07. If you are not first or second, you need to be under that time to be a time qualifier in this event.
Juliet Whitaker, Roisin Willis, rather, a teammate of Juliet Whitaker, much like Michaela Rose, typically likes to be one of those who gets up front. Roisin Willis has been so impressively consistent over the last 12 months. Always gives herself a chance when she steps on the track, and just been impressed too with the level of expectations she came into college with, having such an illustrious high school career, and has so well navigated that transition to be a national title contender season in and season out.
59.2 for Roisin Willis, about equal with the second semifinal first 400 meters. It is Willis, Jemketich, Sullivan of Kennesaw State, and Jepkemboy Amimo of Kentucky. Those are the top 4.
Chepngetich moving really well there on the outside shoulder of Roisin Willis. Here comes Sullivan as well, trying to get herself into that lead pack. That's also Veronica Hargrave of Indiana. Oh!
Now they both. Sullivan, who remains on her feet but now well back. That is Veronica Hargrave making a move, the freshman from Indiana trying to get into the mix in the all-red sheet. Gets by Chepngetich, but it's Roisin Willis is going to win the heat. Hargrave is going to get that second automatic qualifying spot, and Jepkemboy Amimo is going to have to hope that that time that she's run is fast enough. It's got to be faster than 2:01.07 for her to advance. But a couple of athletes going down with 150 meters to go after clipping the back of Emma Sullivan. It's Michaela Clark of Iowa State finishing the race after going down hard. Jepkemboy Amimo has not run fast enough to advance, so only the top 2, the automatic qualifiers, will advance through to Saturday's final.
Roisin Willis looking incredibly relaxed. Also, Veronica Hargrave of Indiana earlier this year in the indoor season was running 2:10. She's now running 2 flat. That's how significantly she's improved under the leadership of IU assistant distance coach Andrew Poore. There you can see that tumble there. Here's where the finish really came together though. Roisin Willis took command of this race from the beginning. And this is where Hargrave starts to make her move. Takes advantage of the opportunity to use those athletes in front of her, gets into full stride. Distance herself, decisively makes that move around the pack. No one responds to go with her.
So here are your advancers. The 9 athletes will contest the final. 2:01.07 is what it took to get through. A little bit slower than last year. Michaela Rose in her final season sets the meet record and becomes the favorite to win the title. All right, we'll put hurdles back on the track. 400-meter hurdles are next. Next on the track, toughest event in the sport, in my opinion, 400-meter hurdles. 3 semifinal heats. Sydney McLaughlin, the twice Olympic champion and world record holder, her 1 year in Kentucky, set that collegiate record. The meet record Jasmine Jones set last year, and Savannah Sutherland of Michigan is your leader, and there she is in the center of the track, the senior from Michigan and Canada. She is the collegiate leader.
Not sure how many times we're going to say this, but she was a Paris Olympian as well. We see that quite a few times today. She has such a solid race plan. She won this championship back in 2023 while at Austin, Texas. She said one of the ways that she was able to win that championship was all eyes were on everybody else, and she went into that race and said, I've got nothing to lose. She laid it on the line, and she was able to come away with the victory there 2 years ago. Last year she had to tangle with Jasmine Jones from USC, and she would finish second. But like Nathaniel Ezekiel and the men's side, Savannah Sutherland is the standout here. Certainly the overwhelming favorite to come away with this title. Yeah, and speaking of Baylor, Kalisha Taylor, Baylor Bear down there in lane 5. Alira McBride from Vanderbilt, she'll be a factor as well in lane 4.
3 semifinals, so same qualification. The first 2 finishers automatically qualifying to Saturday's final, then the 3 next fastest times that were not automatic qualifiers. And there's a move in lane number 5. No hand went up. She didn't really even get into set. So we'll have to see what the officials decide about that, but she might be disqualified.
Well, that's Kalisha Taylor. It looked like she just fell out of the on your marks position. She fell out of the set position here, She goes up, doesn't, oh, that looks more like a jump than a fall out of that position. Big flinch.
That's likely to be a red card. You know, you work so hard to get to this level, and they're giving her a green card is what we're hearing. And that's a breakfast ball. Now you just go, okay, I shouldn't even be running now. Let's make the most of it. Uncertain what kind of disturbance might have been down that the officials were aware of, but we are not. So they will be called to their blocks again, and she gets a new lease on life. There is the favorite, Savannah Sutherland. She was in that final with Sydney McLaughlin, ended up 7th. Easy to see who's in the lead. It's the first, the athlete that goes over the hurdle first is the leader. Very even over that first hurdle. It's Sutherland and Sophia Hines of Kansas State right now. Now Sutherland into the lead. Very aggressive between 4 and 5 into that turn on her pattern.
Well, and Savannah is just a little engine. She never really slows down. She continues with that pace. She continues with that tempo, whether she's hurdling with her right leg or her left leg. Look at her, just the consistency of her stride pattern is what makes her so good.
She only really chopped on the 7th hurdle. The rest of it has been pretty much mechanically flawless, and she wins by a wide margin. 54-13, just a stroll for her. It was Illyria McBride of Vanderbilt down there in lane number 4 who ended up with the 2nd automatic qualifying spot. But just an easy performance, an easy semifinal for the senior from Michigan.
Well, there you see the gold and blue of Michigan coming down that back straight, but just look at the tempo in between. Bing, 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 bing. She is an absolute metronome in between those hurdles. And as she gets close to the hurdle, she knows the adjustment she needs to make 3 or 4 strides out. And you see her just eye that hurdle, and she looks like she's really efficient with both hurdle legs. Her right's her more common leg, but she can hurdle with both effectively. And you have to be able to do that in your hurdle in the 400-meter hurdles at this level.
So Savannah Sutherland making it look easy in winning that first semifinal heat. Illyria McBride gets the other automatic qualifying spot, and the bubble early on is 57.75, but we have 2 heats remaining. All right, a little bit more decathlon, the 7th event, the discus.
All right, we're keeping our eyes on Peyton Bear, the leader here. A little tentative across that circle in the 2nd event of the 2nd day. The discus, a junior from Mississippi State, puts one out there in the first round, and this is what you want in the decathlon, a good first throw, and he continues to be on a really good pace, maybe 8,200 point pace. This is Marcus Weaver. He is an outstanding discus thrower. He throws it just inside the 50-meter line there. Big fella, you know, you're going to get a big yell out of him as well, but he goes in the 2nd round 154 feet 11 inches for 813 points, and moves up about 150 points on the leader, Peyton Bear. But Peyton Bear still your leader after 7. Marcus Weaver moved all the way up into 2nd position. Colby Edos of Arkansas State in 3rd.
All right, heat number 2, semifinal number 2 in the 400-meter hurdles, featuring the freshman from Georgia and Virgin Islands, Michelle Smith. She'll be starting out at lane number 6.
And I'll tell you what, Dwight, Michelle is getting after it this season. You know, freshmen just don't compete like freshmen anymore. She comes into college, her freshman year, 2nd at the SEC, 2nd best time in round 1 of the Eastern region. Only 18 years old. She can turn 19 next week, and here she is at the NCAA championships. Carol Smith Gilbert, she loves that young lady. Michelle Smith, Emily Birdow of TCU. She dipped under 56 seconds for the first time to get here to these championships. Let's see what she can do with the opportunity. There you see NCAA debut. And Anya Woodruff of Howard. She runs both hurdles, didn't qualify in the 100-meter hurdles, but she and the rest of her Howard 400-meter hurdle crew super swept the MEAC conference 1 through 4. And I asked David Oliver today what happened, and Woodruff was second at the conference meet. And I said, what happened to your best hurdler? And he said she was 13th at the regional championships and she didn't get here. So Woodruff competed just a little bit better than the girl she lost to at the MEAC championships. But Howard full of a bunch of hurdlers. David Oliver in heaven there.
Obvious team implications with Michelle Smith from Georgia. Important that she get through and put herself in a position to score points on Saturday. There is Birdow at TCU. Top 2 finishers qualify to Saturday's final automatically. And early on, it's looking like Smith with a good move there in the middle of the track.
Well, Anya Woodruff on the outside there for Howard. She's got out really quick, but a little bit out of control. Saw her really get off balance about that 5th hurdle.
Now here comes Smith into the lead, going into the 8th hurdle. And Birdow now starting to recover a little bit. It is Smith of Georgia, the freshman. Very close for second. Right now it is Woodruff. One final hurdle to go. Woodruff in second now, trying to hang on to that automatic qualifying spot. Will she be able to do so? It looks like she was able to hold off Amelia Birdow for that second automatic qualifier, but Michelle Smith winning the heat in 55-65. And it was Birdow at 56-44. Holding on to that second automatic spot.
Well, Michelle Smith is fairly tall. Look at how she navigates these 30-inch hurdles. And it just doesn't look like it's anything at all for her to get over these hurdles. Her right leg is her more competent leg, certainly, and she goes to it over the last 2 hurdles. But we saw her run some really outstanding indoor 400-meter races. And here in the outdoor season, she has exceeded expectations.
So separation by thousands between Birdow and Woodruff. Birdow gets the automatic qualifying nod. Woodruff has to hope that time holds up. But that was 1,000th or 2 of a second that made the difference. All right, well, we have a second before the last semifinal. Let's go over for some shot put.
All right, Maya Lesnar said 2024 indoor champ. Let's see if she can win an outdoor championship. The senior from Colorado State, this is her first attempt. And look at that on her first throw here in these championships. She would go big. 6-time Mountain West champ. Number 3 all-time shot putter in history at the collegiate level. 62.4½. And she would take the early lead here in the women's shot put.
All right, semifinal number 3 athletes getting onto the track. And we saw her in the 100 hurdles qualifying through to the final earlier from Texas, the sophomore, Kayla Garrett. That was just a little over an hour ago.
Well, just an incredible story about Kayla Garrett. She ran last season almost the entire year, Dwight, we said at the SEC Championships, with a broken navicular bone. And she said she pushed it way too far. She was in pain all the time during practice, in pain in the meets. But she made it all the way to the Olympic trials. She qualified for the Olympic trials, and it was not smart, she said, but she knows how far she certainly can push it. But this year she is back, she is healthy, and she is running very well. 4th place last year on a broken navicular bone. But to see her and the toughness that she showed at the SEC championships, fall starting out of the 100-meter hurdles, come back and win the 400 meters, she's one tough customer. This is Sana Hebron, the sophomore from Miami. She's gone 55-47, the ACC champ. There you see 55-47 qualifying, but there you see 2 times she's been the ACC champion. Dad played professional football. 2-time Super Bowl champ, played with the Eagles, and he played with the Broncos. There's Tyra Wilson. 2 times she was a runner-up in the ACC conference too, Sana. But the Florida State senior will go down there in 5. Akayla Garrett in 6, and Hebron in 7.
Garrett was 7th at the Olympic trials in the 400-meter hurdles. There is Hebron in 7. The bubble is 56.92.
Set.
If you aren't first or second in this semifinal, you need to be faster than 56.92 if your time is going to advance to the final. So Garrett ran well in the 100-meter hurdles earlier. Very even here so far. Very close between Garrett and Wilson to her inside. Now Wilson takes over. On the outside, Braylon Baker of Duke also going well, the freshman. Now Tyra Wilson getting more into the mix. And down there in lane 4, Chloe Fair of Harvard also going well on the inside. She's actually in 2nd right now. It is Garrett and Fair, 1 hurdle remaining. Hebron trying to grab that 2nd spot, and she's going to do so. Garrett, then Hebron. They get the automatic qualifier, 55.07 officially for Akayla Garrett, who goes through automatically. And 55.73 for Hebron. While we wait for advancers, let's move over for an update in the pole vault. Mole's sister on the runway.
This is Hannah Mall, 14.8 3/4. First attempt. 3rd attempt makes, can energize athletes, and it certainly did. Hannah Mall passed the last bar. She goes up to 14.8 3/4, and look at the height of her hips on that attempt. Her sister missed on her first attempt at 14.8. We'll keep an eye on the Mall sisters over in the pole vault.
There are your advancers to final. It took 56.25 last year, 56.39 this year. Very close to the same. Win can make a big difference in this event. So those are your 9 athletes who will contest the final, with Savannah Sutherland a huge favorite as we see the 200-meter sprinters getting ready to take the track. All right, 3 semifinal heats of the 200 meters. There are the records. Abby Steiner of Kentucky has the collegiate record as well as the meet record. Jamisha Ford, who we saw earlier in the 100, has the best time in the country this year. As we look at Madison White from the University of Southern California, she will be in lane number 6, 5th at the 200 meters indoors this year.
Well, she had a fantastic Big Ten outdoor championship. Not only did she win the 200, 400, but she had a 4x4 championship to go along with that. So 3 wins there. You see Naomi Johnson down there from UCLA, but also her teammate, Jasani Carter from USC goes in 4. And Tima Godbless, who we saw run really well in the 100 meters, LSU in 5.
God bless, running 10.91 to qualify through in the 100 earlier. And Jamisha Ford, who we will see later, became the co-leader in the 100 meters, not even her specialty.
There's Jasani Carter. You can't miss her. She's got the frilly socks with the spikes.
Top 2 finishers automatically qualified to the final. Very even the first 50 meters. It is going to be Madison White off the turn. Now Tima Godbless chasing. Jasani Carter fading. Madison White. And now it's Jayla Jamison. It's Jayla Jamison going to get the second automatic qualifying spot in front of Tima God Bless. And just like in the 100, God Bless just not being able to close the deal the last quarter of the race.
Well, Jayla Jamison, she led off that 4x1 for the Gamecocks. She got a nice warm-up run early on, but here you see Madison White, and this is what Madison White does really well. She's nice and tall. She stands up tall as she comes off that turn and then just turns it over all the way to the line. Nothing but power there. Certainly different styles between Tina God Bless and Madison White. Look at the control there for the sophomore out of USC.
So White and Jamison automatically through. God Bless just misses her lifetime best in third. That's a time that probably should hold up as a time qualifier, but there are 2 semifinals remaining, so she will have to sit those out. A little bit of a disappointment. Jasani Carter at 22.89. She becomes the bubble and most likely will not get through on time. Moments ago in pole vault, we go back to the Mole sisters once again.
All right, we saw Hannah Mall get over. This is Amanda Mall, third attempt, 14.8 3/4, and she would have a big jump. So it's Amanda Mall over, Hannah Mall over, and the defending champion, Chloe Timberg, still in the competition here. And not only is Chloe Timberg the defending champion, she's also the meet record holder.
All right, well, Mole sisters working out over there in the pole vault. Way too many vaults on their bodies today as we get ready for semifinal number 2. And this will feature Jasmine Montgomery, the junior from Texas A&M. Also was in the 100 meters earlier, previously at Oregon and Florida, now in College Station.
Well, a bit of a homecoming for Jasmine Montgomery. But she didn't spend much time on the track after she qualified in that 4x1, but here she goes in lane 6. She's run really well this season, probably better in the 200 meters than she has in the 100. Kelly Ufodiyama, a freshman from East Carolina out there, and 22.54 at the East round 1 prelims. And then Canandra Davis out of Texas, bringing a lot of experience, one of the most experienced Texas
On your mark.
runners here to these championships. Got a chance to see her in the 4x1 as well. Leah Bertrand ran a fantastic 100 meters. She goes in lane 5, 10:91 windy. And Samira Moody of Southern Cal, she goes down in lane 3. She's also through in the 100-meter qualifying.
Montgomery and Ufodiyama did not qualify in the 100, so this is their lone chance in an individual event to get through to the final.
Set.
Almost sounded like a recall there, but they're off. Montgomery running well. In lane number 6, she comes off the turn first. Montgomery, and it is Davis now making a move on out in lane 8. Montgomery and Davis, and that's how they'll finish. Those are the automatic qualifiers. 22.34 for Jasmine Montgomery with legal win. It's been adjusted to 22.36, so a strong time for her, and a personal best for Canandra Davis at 22.45 in second.
Well, look at Jasmine Montgomery. She really pushed that first 80, and so as she comes off the turn, she's got some momentum, and then all she has to do now, as she straightens up, heads down the last 100 here, it's just about turnover. You're not trying to go any faster. You're just trying to not slow down as much as everybody around you. And Jasmine Montgomery, good job. We'll see her in the finals in the half lap tomorrow.
So Montgomery qualifies through automatically. Davis with a lifetime best. Bertrand with a lifetime best to match her 1/1000th of a second victory in the 100. So she'll be in both sprints on Saturday. Over to the other side for more, or for the decathlon pole vault.
All right, third event, second day. This is Marcus Weaver, third attempt, and what's significant about this is his opening height. And he will try to get over that bar any way that he absolutely can, but he passed some significant heights down below, and he knows he made a huge mistake, but Marcus Weaver was on his way to scoring some good points for the Razorbacks. He was on his way to scoring 8,000 points. This is Peyton Bear, his first attempt at 15.1.5, and he would clear easily and continue to lead this decathlon for 793 points. But that miss by Peyton Bear really puts a hindrance on Arkansas's team points here. They were expecting points in decathlon. This is Kenneth Bird, the freshman from Louisville. Third attempt, 17.5. He would be the best jumper of the day. Grant Levesque, who is also a good pole vaulter in the decathlon, did not jump well from Houston. But nice jump there by Bird, scoring over 1,000 points in the event. But there you see the standings. Peyton Bear continues to lead here by just over 300 points over Kenneth Bird. And Levesque in third position.
Terrible disappointment for Marcus Weaver and the Arkansas Razorbacks. Dan, I think you can relate to how he must have felt at that moment.
Well, I certainly can, and I remember some other significant no heights at a national championship. Trey Hardy in Sacramento. I remember him missing out there as we get a chance to look at Jamesia Ford. Just a wonderful season that she's having so far. And this was the event that I think probably got her the most notoriety last year. She lost this. She took second place to Mackenzie Long, but man, she made a name for herself as a freshman. And she's just such a character. She seems to be having a great time out there, really enjoying her time. And the girl that beat her indoors, she had an undefeated season going as a freshman, and then as a sophomore was looking like she was going to have an undefeated season until she ran into India Mayberry indoors in Virginia Beach. India Mayberry in the purple uniform on the inside shocked the world by taking down Jamesia Ford at the indoor finals. It was in that second heat. India Mayberry now becomes somebody who we're really keeping an eye on in this outdoor season. She's having an outstanding season herself.
Did not qualify through in the 100 meters, but Jamesia Ford, who dropped down to the 100 meters, ended up running a time that is the co-collegiate leader. A large lifetime best for Ford in the 100. It shows what kind of flat speed she has. And then Deja Defran, who's also in this heat, she ran 10.93 to qualify through in the 100 meters earlier.
10.87 for Jamesia Ford, number 2 in the world this year.
Third and final semifinal of the 200 meters. Ford in 6, Mayberry in 5. Mayberry inside Ford just like she was indoors, but right now Ford dominating as she comes off the turn.
Well, good start by Deja Defran, and I think she got out, and that pulled Jamesia Ford right along. But look at the control by Jamesia Ford.
It's Ford and Defran. Those are your automatic qualifiers. 21.98. That's a new collegiate leader for Jamesia Ford with just 0.9 meters per second of tailwind, just about 2 miles per hour at her back, and she goes under 22 seconds in a heat. Deja Defran, 22.20. That is a lifetime best for the Lady Trojan.
Well, last year Mackenzie Long won the 100 meters. She won the 200 meters, and she also was on the team that won the 4x100 meters. Can Jamesia Ford do that again this year for the South Carolina Gamecocks? But look at her make the turn. She just was built for this 200 meters. Look at the turnover, never slows down, an absolute metronome. Arm action, absolutely beautiful. Nice relaxation in the face and upper body, and so efficient with her arms. She is going to be tough to beat.
Jamesia Ford becomes only the 5th collegian ever to go under 22 seconds in the 200 meters. 21.98 legal. Deja Defran also with a lifetime best in second. Jasmine Montgomery, you can see 22.59 is what it took to get through this year in the women's 200 meters. All right, when we return, the concluding event in the decathlon, the grueling 1,500 meters is next when we return to Eugene.
Well, we're back with the decathlon. Let's get you caught up with the 9th event as we follow the leader, Peyton Bear, the junior from Mississippi State. This is his first attempt. He is a pretty good javelin thrower. Certainly, you better be a good javelin thrower at Mississippi State. They're called Jab U over there. But on his first attempt, he'd go 189 feet, 10 inches. And he'd score 706 points. Here's Brad Thomas, the senior from UC Santa Barbara. He's an outstanding javelin thrower, and he would put out the best throw of the day on his third attempt, third and final for Brad Thomas. Looking to score good big points and keep himself on the podium there, the top three, 208 feet, 3 inches. But here are your standings after 9 events. Only the 1,500 meters remains.
So it's just one heat, all the remaining decathletes, and there's 19 of them. We lost 5 during the competition, are in this one 1,500 meter race. There's Peyton Bear, who has a 426-point lead in first place. And what he is going for is he's trying to run 4:47 or faster for a score of 8,247 points to crack the top 20 all-time collegiate list. So we'll keep an eye on that. He has run 4:36.66, so 4:47 certainly within his capability. And then there's a lot of competition for points between places 2 and 8. From 2nd to 8th, there's only about 150 points that separates those athletes. None of them represent teams that are in contention for the team title.
Well, and I got to give it to the officials that they put all those athletes out there together in the 1,500 meters. They don't always do that at major championships. Sometimes they run in separate heats, and agonizing to be in a second or a third heat in the 1,500 meters. Not quite the 5K we saw at the SEC championships, but there's a lot of bodies out there. But no, Peyton Bear, you got this thing wrapped up, and even when you got the decathlon wrapped up, there's still a lot at stake, certainly. So Peyton Bear trying to run fast enough to get a decent score, and some of these other guys, like we said, between places 2nd and 8th, a lot of changes in places could happen here.
And Dan, the only thing that might be worse than running the 1,500 at the end of the decathlon these 2 days is waiting to run the 1,500, right? To watch a heat in front of you, have to go and watch them in their grueling way through it, and then know that that's what's coming next for you, right?
It was always the waiting. The waiting was always the toughest.
Tom Petty said it best. The waiting is the hardest part. All right, Diarmid O'Connor of Connecticut went through in 68 seconds. Now there's Peyton Bear getting a little bit of encouragement, maybe a little advice from the side. There's O'Connor in front. He went through in 68. Bear went through in 71.
Well, just of note, Dwight, the last American to win the NCAA Decathlon Championship, Mike Morrison, back in 2011. You know, what does that say about the event here in the United States? But you got to think, well, who won those titles? Well, Lyndon Victor at Texas A&M. And then how many Georgia athletes, Estonian athletes, did Petros Kyprianou have, you know, over the years? But 2011, where's my American brothers, right?
Well, then you just most recently had Leo Neugebauer.
Yeah. And then I thought, what about Ashton Eaton? Well, Ashton Eaton came before 2011.
Right. Well, you know, these things go in cycles, and I'm sure there's a decathlon renaissance that we will see amongst Americans at some point in the not too distant future. It's O'Connor from Connecticut that continues to lead this 1,500 meters. Bear is well within himself, but kind of in no man's land. He's not really connected. There he is, as he gets a little bit more advice from the sideline.
Well, and somebody we should keep an eye out. He's sitting in 3rd place right now. That's Brad Thomas, the senior from UC Santa Barbara. He is trying to move up now to 2nd position. He totally can, and he's running really well, really strong now with 1 lap to go. Can the senior from Santa Barbara, he's projected to score over 7,800 points. Well, Peyton Bear right at this point is still projected to score over 8,200 points, but he's got to put in some work now on this final lap.
O'Connor digging down. He's been in the lead since about 300 meters into this 1500. Luckily for them, virtually no wind blowing right now. O'Connor shortening his stride a little bit to stay with form. There's Bear, got about 150 meters to go. That's Emil Ullin of Kansas State who's closing in on O'Connor. O'Connor's really getting rigged. It's Ullin that wins the 1500. He's currently in 6th, hoping to move up. And here comes Bear. And if he is less than 25 seconds after the winner of the race, he will have achieved his goal of getting in the top 20 all-time collegians at the NCAA championships.
Well, Peyton Bear, he comes from an extremely athletic family. Brother Jackson Bear's a freshman decathlete at Arkansas. He's got a younger brother, Gaten Bear, who has run 10 flat in the 100 meters on a 2-year mission. He's going to come back. He's going to play football and run for the University of Oregon in about a year and a half's time. But the family's from Idaho, Kimberly, Idaho. But there is your winner of the 1500 meters. Outstanding time, 4:22 there by Ullin. But it looks like Peyton Bear will successfully score in the top 20. 83.23 for Peyton Bear. That's going to be outstanding. That's going to move him up maybe number 11th, number 12th all time.
All right, we will get you the final the point totals and the placings, as there was a lot of movement amongst the 2nd through 8th group in that 1500. That information, the 10,000 meters when we return. Back in Eugene, Oregon for more of our coverage of the 2025 NCAA Track and Field Championships. Dwight Stones along with Laura Overton getting ready for the one track final of the day, the women's 10,000 meters. There are the records. Parker O'Valve having an incredible season last year, becoming an Olympian. And Pamela Kosgei has the collegiate lead in this event. There she is in position number 12. 24 athletes on the track for this 25-lap final.
Kosgei, number 2 all-time on the collegiate list in both this event and in the 5,000 meters, which she is expected to run in 2 days. She is aiming to be New Mexico's first women's outdoor national champ in this event. She saw Winnie Kaladi do this in 2019. Also, Grace Hartman of NC State, number 4 on the all-time collegiate list at 10,000 meters, having run 31:20 at the Raleigh Relays earlier this year. She was also part of NC State's national championship cross-country team 2 years ago.
Stand up. Green card.
We've had a lot of delays in getting some of these events off this afternoon, Dwight.
And they are finally off. 24 athletes, 25 laps. We'll show you the competitors there on your screen. Conditions continue to improve for distance runners. It was a high of 73 degrees earlier today when we began. Current temperature is still 70 degrees, but virtually no wind, which is certainly helpful for these athletes.
Grace Hartman from NC State going up front early on, and in talking just earlier today with her coach, Lori Hennes, she said looking at Grace's progression, her growth has just been incredible. She showed up on campus day one with the goal of being All-American, and not in an overly confident type of way. It was just the belief that she had and her investment in putting in the work to get there. Really loves training and loves racing. And you can see she's settled in nicely with Peyton Noe of Arkansas in tow. She also has Pamela Kosgei, easy to identify with that turquoise of New Mexico. Also, keep your eyes on the athlete who is currently right around 5th position. That is Diana Chirotich, the freshman from the University of Oregon.
71.8 for the opening 400 meters. Kosgei there in 4th position. Hartman checking her watch in the leader. Peyton Noe there from Arkansas in lane number 3, or position number 3. So they are spreading out pretty evenly. And we promised you decathlon results and standings. Let us bring those to you now. Peyton Bear did crack the top 20. In fact, he's about number 14 on the all-time list. Brad Thomas did move up from 4th place to 2nd place with his performance in the decathlon, but a huge runaway victory for Peyton Bear, and John had a chance to catch up with him after the victory.
It's a multi-event sweep. HEP indoor, we come outdoor, we complete the title. 83.23 seems impressive to me. How does it feel to you?
That feels awesome. finally timed to PR. So
200 points better than your PR.
that's correct.
What is it, and where did you find those points?
I found those in the sprints and also the throws. My disc and jab were much better in this competition.
And then how'd you keep your focus through this? Because some of your top competitors kind of were just dropping out here and there, whether it was in the 400 or in the pole vault.
I mean, I wasn't really chasing them, I'm chasing the score, so it's that kind of pushed me through. So.
All right. 2 really hard days. What's next? Because I feel like a month off would be great.
Yeah, we got USA's here in I think 5 or 6 weeks, so we're training for that. I think this mark should put me ranked top 24 in the world, which, God willing, I get top 3 at USA's. I'll be in Tokyo in September.
Well, at least sleep in tonight.
Yeah, I will.
Very good. Peyton, back upstairs.
All right, a huge victory for Peyton Bear of Mississippi State in the decathlon as we return to the 10,000 meters. With Grace Hartman still leading.
And if you watch, Grace Hartman has been very intentionally clicking off those laps as she comes through each and every 400 meters. They went through the 1K at 3:04. They've settled in right around 75-second 400s to this point. And looking back at Grace Hartman during the indoor season at the National Championship indoor meet, where she was 5th in the 3K, 6th in the 5K, she was actually battling through some illness. She was sick during that championship, now has gotten herself healthy. Doing a great job of taking command of this race. Coach Lori Hennes says that there have been a handful of times, just because of how much Grace Hartman loves to train and put everything into it, loves to race. She's actually had to pull back the reins a little bit, and that's something that they've learned in time and been able to coach into Grace Hartman, is that sometimes the best way is to have that next jump and that next step that you want to find in your progression is just to take that intentional rest and know how to recover between those races. She looks incredibly relaxed there up front. She really has a lot of great tools in her toolbox. It's not only the strength and endurance that she has, she also has good foot speed. Pamela Kosgei is in threatening position right now, very comfortable to sit behind Grace Hartman.
Hartman, Kosgei, Chep Kamoy, and Chironich for Oregon, and Peyton Noe of Arkansas in about 6th place. So we will step aside, and when we come back, we will pick up with our coverage of this 10,000 meter final. Let's go over to Dan.
Well, the women's pole vault is winding down. 3 competitors remaining. This is your defending champion, Chloe Timberg, the senior from Rutgers, 3rd attempt at 14.8 3/4 of an inch. Gotta love the baseball cap for style and for vision there, and she gets over that on a third attempt, 14.8. She continues to roll in this competition. Amanda Mall, a little bit of an up and down competition, took a third attempt to get this far. This is her third attempt, a sophomore from UW. And she would come down on that bar, 15 feet, 3/4 of an inch. And Amanda would settle for third place. Here's Hannah Mall. First attempt, 15.2 3/4. Good plant. Look at her sky that, 15.2 3/4, and she is over with room to spare. Now here's a third attempt, 15.8 going for a meet record. And she would clear that, and not only is it a meet record, it's a collegiate record. Slight brush over the top, slight brush coming down to the other side. And she would take this competition in stylish fashion, meet record, collegiate record, and the win. And the Washington Huskies would go 1 and 3.
Wow, a lot of heart attack over there in that pole vault with the Mole sisters, but they pulled it out. 16 points for UW in the pole vault. As not a lot has changed since we went away from the 10,000. Grace Hartman still clicking her watch every 200 meters and leading this 10,000 meter final. Pamela Kosgei not challenging at all, happy to sit right where she is.
That metronome-like pace, they've just been right around 75.5, 76 seconds. It was 9:21 through 3,000 meters, so that would be a meet record. That meet record was set just last year by Parker Valby from Florida.
Diana Chirotich is there on the rail for Oregon. Peyton Noe of Arkansas there in 5th. And that is Chloe Scrimgeour of Georgetown in 4th.
Among those here supporting Grace Hartman, cheering her on, Caitlin Toohey is in the crowd. And Hartman was 8th in this event just last year, and in talking about the strategy that she came into this event with, knowing, you know, the talent of Pamela Kosgei and Diana Chirotich and Peyton Noe, her coach Lori Hennis said, you know, sometimes we can really overcoach them and force things. Sometimes what you need to do is just let people go with heart, knowing that they're well prepared. So she has empowered Grace Hartman to just manage whatever situation presents itself. She told her, go be proud of how you race. Run the race that you want to race outside of the results. Go run hard. This race should be really a celebration of where she is in her career. You can see she's glancing off to the side. Oftentimes, especially in the 10,000, that's where you will see some of the clusters of teammates or coaches position themselves to provide some cues, because it's a little quieter there on the backstretch near the Bowerman Tower. If you remember, that's where Parker Valby was looking to last year for some cues and commands from the Florida contingent.
So Grace Hartman has forged a pace that's about 30 seconds under Parker Valby's meet record from last year, and everyone's just happy for her to continue to do so. So not much changing here. We will step aside again and pick this race back up on the other side when we return to Eugene. Let's see what's happening in the women's javelin.
Well, we're through the first 2 sections, and now we are lining up for the finals. This is Leanna Davidson, the senior from Georgia. And on her second attempt, nice low line driver. She would keep below the wind there, and she'd throw 193.8 inches. Here's Manuela Rotundo of Georgia, the senior. This is her second attempt. She go 198 feet on that attempt. She was third at the SEC Championships, a Uruguayan national record holder. But after the qualifying rounds, after the 2 flights, there we get another shot of Manuela Rotunda, but after the qualifying rounds, the Georgia Bulldogs sit number 1 and number 3. So right now, Georgia has 16 points in the women's javelin. The finals has just started, and we will update you as we go along.
So another big event for the Bulldogs, as we expected there would be, as we get now back to the 10,000 meters. 15:38 at the 5K, which is well under the meet record of 31:46 if they keep up this pace. And Grace Hartman has been doing a great job pacing this group. Pamela Kosgei has been right behind her the entire time, with Diana Chirodich, the freshman from Oregon, in third.
I love that Hartman has forced this field to go honest. They are below the meet record pace set just last year. Pamela Kosgei has settled in just behind Hartman. And in this meet last year, Dwight, she wasn't competing, didn't compete in the outdoor season. Rather, she was sitting in the stands. They brought her here just to watch this meet, wanted her to see how this NCAA championship meet was run. So she watched what Parker Falvey did, and that really fueled some perspective for her on what she wanted to do and what she would aspire to do at the University of New Mexico. Instead, she didn't race here at the NCAAs, but she did go on to race at the Portland Track Festival last summer, and she has just been on a terror ever since. She was the runner-up in the NCAA cross-country meet. That was her only loss of the cross-country season when she finished behind Doris Lemon-Golay as Diana Chirodich steps off the track right there around the 200-meter mark. You can see she's walking toward the back of the track, so she has stepped off. So unfortunate after the phenomenal outdoor season that she has had. Has had such an impact on the program since arriving here in April. Meanwhile, up front, you can see Kosgei starting to get a little bit antsy there up front, and she's been really impressive. When I talk about she's been on a tear this season, has one of the fastest all-time 10K performances, one of the fastest all-time 5,000 meter performances. She also ran a 9:15 steeplechase, Dwight. She won the conference meet in the steeplechase, and really what helped Darren Gosson decide what he would do with her this outdoor season was after she ran that fantastic 5,000 meter 14:52, finishing just ahead of BYU's Lexi Holiday-Lowry. They had the indication that Holiday-Lowry would focus on the steeplechase, kind of knew Lemon-Golay would focus on steeplechase, so really decided to go all in on the 10,000, 5,000 meter double. So she ran that 31:58 just after that incredible 5,000. So just all around, every single event that she has been in this outdoor season, she has showcased just incredible fitness and incredible talent. Now, you can see they have separated themselves. It is Grace Hartman, it is Pamela Kosgei, and then there is a pack of three behind them. Peyton Noe of Arkansas, Chloe Scrimger of Georgetown.
And Joy Nocott of West Virginia. I'm more impressed with the 9:15 steeplechase, to be honest with you.
That's just her versatility. She had so many options with what she could do.
Okay, Pamela Kosgei now moving out to the shoulder of Grace Hartman. She's maybe decided, okay, I've had enough of this. Good pacing. Thanks, Grace. I got it from here.
And this is very similar to the move she made in the NCAA regional meet to get here. It was very decisive when she made the move to the front. She is one who makes bold moves in races. She doesn't like to just kind of create and, sneak up on someone and settle in. When she goes, she goes.
Well, she has definitely gone. She's been put 20 meters on Grace Hartman very quickly. Pamela Kosgei just downshifted, went up on Grace Hartman's shoulder, and waved goodbye. All right, we'll step aside for the final time and bring you the conclusion of this one track final on Ladies' Day, the 10,000, when we come back.
Let's go to the main straightaway and the women's long jump. We'll see the conclusion here. This is Alyssa Jones, the junior from Stanford. 2023, she was second. 2024, she was third. Here's her first attempt, and she would send her first one out 21-11 and 3/4. This is Alexis Brown, your NCAA indoor champion and your collegiate leader coming into these championships. She also ran on the 4x100 meter relay, the senior from Baylor. On the third attempt, she would get things going before the break, 21 feet 9 inches. This is Sinclair Savage, the senior from Louisville, second at the ACC Outdoor Championship. She was 8th back in 2023, and this would be her 6th attempt of the competition. She would save her best jump for last, and it would be the best jump of the competition, 22 feet 3/4 of an inch. And Savage from Louisville would take the title. It would go Savage, Jones, and then Brown, Alexis Brown from Baylor. Nice job there, indoor national championship, 3rd place outdoor, but your outdoor championship is a Louisville Cardinal.
Back to the 10,000 meters with less than 5 laps remaining, and Pamela Kosgei, after making that move about 4 laps ago, you can see there Grace Hartman in the background. She really made the race. She is the one that established the pace well below the meet record, and she is solidly still in 2nd place. But Pamela Kosgei, the freshman from New Mexico, has just taken off, and depending on how far or how hard she wants to push herself, the meet record is absolutely going to happen, and a collegiate record may still be on the table.
And you see that lead that Pamela Kosgei has built. That's because after running those really consecutive 76-second 400s, she then went 72.8 for that split to get all that separation. Has settled in now to some 70-second quarters once again, but Grace Hartman has done a great job of continuing to stay in contact, not let that lead grow any more from what it is. And if you remember back to the NCAA Indoor Championship, Pamela Kosgei was 3rd in the 5,000. She really positioned herself well, but then ended up 11th in the 3,000. That's because she took a tumble. She was right there up front in the thick of it in the 3,000, went down, and then so she had certainly a chip on her shoulder coming into the outdoor season after really putting herself well in the mix of it in the indoor championship, wanting to prove what she could do. She was runner-up in cross country to Doris Lemon-Golay. So she has been so close so many times. She was going to leave nothing to chance in this championship, and Grace Hartman has done a great job of just maintaining her pace over the entire duration of this race as they come up on 4 laps to go for Grace Hartman, or 3 laps to go, excuse me. They hadn't switched the counter over yet because of some of the athletes who are on different lap counts. And now with 3 laps to go, for Grace Hartman, you almost need to use those athletes you're coming up on to lap. You need to use them as almost a rabbit of sorts to try to close a bit of the gap that Kosgei has built.
The collegiate record is probably off the table. She would have to run 65-second 400s for 3 laps, probably not in the offing, but she's on sub 31:20 pace, which would be a meet record by about 25 seconds.
She did close in 64 seconds at the regional meet. In that instance, it was Pamela Kosgei and Diana Chirodich who were separated with about 4 laps to go and used one another. They have done, New Mexico has a ton of work to build Pamela Kosgei's closing speed. A lot of 200s and a lot of 300s, you know, in addition to that great base that she has built, the foundation for the steeplechase, the 5,000 and the 10,000. This is where she loves to start to press in a race. You've got just over 800 meters to go. Although she has a commanding lead, Pamela Kosgei loves to dig deep when it hurts the most.
Coming down with 2 laps remaining.
Keep in mind, New Mexico men went 1-2 in the 10,000 yesterday, setting this up for what could be a sweep of the 10,000 meter titles for New Mexico in just the 2nd season under Coach Darren Gosson. Also continuing to watch that meet record.
A meet record is a foregone conclusion unless she falls down. She's on sub 31:20 pace, and she'll be close to her lifetime best of 31:02.
And expected to come back to be one of the favorites for the 5,000 on Saturday.
Grace Hartman still holding down second place.
And
Peyton Noe is back there in about fourth place.
And that pace has just never wavered from Grace Hartman. Pamela Kosgei just made that commanding, decisive move to go around her with about 7 laps or so to go.
Coming up on the bell. She's going to obliterate the meet record set by Parker Valby just a year ago of 31:46.09.
There is a great race happening for third right now. Peyton Noe of Arkansas has fought her way into third. Big for the point scoring implication. That's Chloe Scrimger of Georgetown. Peyton Noe is such a ferocious competitor. Let's see what she has left for the final 400 meters. It is all Pamela Kosgei up front.
Peyton Noe may have her sights set on trying to reel in Grace Hartman. That's about a 30-meter lead at this point, and Hartman has picked up the pace. But your winner and new meet record holder is going to be Pamela Kosgei, the freshman from New Mexico. 1-2 on the men's side, and now the winner of the title on the women's side in her debut at the NCAA championships. Sub 31:20 for a new meet record. Now, is there a race for second, or does Grace Hartman have it nailed down? She's got it nailed down. And Joy Nocott is going to end up third, with Peyton Noe fourth. .459 for Kosgei's final 1,600 meters. But Grace Hartman really made that race.
But how about just the gutsiness of Pamela Kosgei to break it open when she did and go for the meet record? She could have sat and kicked and waited until the final 1,200 meters or so, knowing the type of closing speed that she has. Think about it though, 1 year ago, she sat in the stands. She was not a competitor. She was watching as Parker Valby set the meet record and knew that she wanted to get back here and do it herself. What a dominant past year she has had. Pamela Kosgei, fueled by that cross-country runner-up performance, being there in the indoor national championship, taking third in the 5,000, and now earns that national title for the New Mexico sweep of the 10K.
5 runners under 32 minutes in the 10,000. That's never happened. And
so Grace Hartman faster than Parker Valby's record from last year as well. Wow, look at all of those.
yeah, the top 5 all under the former meet record in just 1 year. Runners still finishing, and we will be ready for the 4x400 relay when we get back to Eugene and have a chance to talk to the new title holder and new meet record holder in the 10,000 meters when we return to Eugene.
Well, welcome back to Tracktown USA. Let's show you the finish of the women's javelin. Things got spicy in the 6th round here at Hayward Field. This is Valentina Barrios Bonicelli, the junior from Missouri, by way of Columbia. In the 6th round, she would throw an absolute bomb. She goes from 4th place to 1st place on that throw. She was second at the SEC Outdoor Championships, but she'd go 203 feet 5 inches for an all-time personal best and take over the lead in the 6th round. Manuela Rotunda, who led the competition almost all the way through. Here she is in her 6th round attempt. She would not improve here in the sixth and final round. She'd go 194 feet 3 inches, and she would finish second. But Georgia would come away with 13 points out of the event. But a big throw there by Bornicelli and Missouri. And there you see the top 3. Irene Jepkemboy of TCU was third. John Anderson, you got yourself another national champion at Missouri.
All right, here are the records for the 4x400 relay, the concluding event of the day. Arkansas all the way, collegiate and meet record. They ran that collegiate time here as they finished the super sweep in the women's 400. And the collegiate leader, Arkansas, once again this year, are leading the nation. And they will be in this very first semifinal, starting in lane number 6. There is their personnel. And just like all 3 semifinal events, the top 2 finishing teams will automatically qualify to Saturday's final, and then the next 3 fastest teams that were not automatic qualifiers will also advance, as we see out in lane 7, 1 lane out. This is the Tennessee 4x4 lineup with Cindy Wright that you're looking at as their leadoff runner.
Giovanna Valcourt, who we saw in the 200 meters. She'll go on that 3rd leg, but they're on that Arkansas squad. The stars will bookend that team. Kaylin Brown will go first. Rosie Effiong, experienced one, will go 4th. Duke comes in here with a 3:27.87 qualifying time, just outside their all-time school record, 3:27.14. So let's keep an eye on the Blue Devils. The men's side, they performed at a high level in the 4x4. Let's see if they could do the same on the women's side.
That collegiate record is the 10th fastest time in world history. They took 4 seconds off their own collegiate record last year. From the inside, Montana State, Michigan, Iowa State, then Duke, Arkansas, Tennessee, and the outside, Arizona and Harvard. Leadoff runners will stay in their lanes throughout the first lap. When they hand off, the outgoing runner will stay in their lane through the full turn and then break for the pole on the backstretch. Tennessee currently leading. Arkansas right there.
Victoria Bossong doing a great job for Harvard as well.
Arkansas passing first.
That's a 51.5 for Kaylin Brown. Sydney Wright did a pretty good job from Tennessee, staying with Kaylin, the Olympian, as long as she certainly could. Now Kayla Davis for Arkansas has broken this thing wide open, and Arkansas continues just to throw more people at us in that 400 meters. We're always seeing new faces, new names emerge in that 400 meters.
That's Esther Joseph for Tennessee on the 2nd leg. For Duke, Julia Jackson. And for Michigan, making a move is Savannah Sutherland, their outstanding 400-meter hurdler. You love those 400-meter hurdlers on the relay. And Michigan passes equal with Arkansas. 52 seconds for Arkansas. It's the Hogs, then Michigan, then Tennessee.
50.8 split for Savannah Sutherland of Michigan.
Well, I'm just convinced that when a 400-meter hurdler, you take away the hurdles, and just so thrilled that there's nothing there, that they just run so much faster without them.
Excited to see a teammate in front of you instead of another hurdle.
That's right.
For Tennessee, that is Giovanna Valcourt now challenging for the lead over Amira Sharp of Arkansas. Michigan starting to fade. Tennessee into the lead as they get ready for the final handoff. Tennessee passes first, followed closely by Arkansas. Drop baton for the Wolverines. 51-3 for Valcourt, and that's why Tennessee's in the lead. For Arkansas on anchor, Rosie Effiong. She was 4th last year in that super sweep by the Razorbacks, and she's qualified for the Open 400 earlier today. For Tennessee, it's Kamaya Haywood.
Well, look at Rosie Effiong. I was going to say, she just look at the tempo, look at the strength.
Lauren Tolbert of Duke, the 800-meter runner who has consistently run 51-second splits on their 4x4.
And Duke now into 2nd place and going to nail down that 2nd automatic qualifying spot. But Arkansas will win the heat. 3:26.08. Duke finishing 2nd. 49.5 for Effiong on anchor for Arkansas.
Outstanding running by Rosie Effiong there of Arkansas. The strength of the Arkansas Razorbacks shining through here in the women's 4x4.
Here are the results of that first semifinal, won by Arkansas, 3:26.08. Duke gets that 2nd automatic qualifying spot. And Tennessee, Iowa State, and Harvard have to hope that those times will hold up as time qualifiers with 2 semifinal heats remaining. Here is heat number 2. Here are the A&M Aggies and their lineup. Kennedy Wade will be starting off. Jaden Wood will be anchoring for the Aggies.
There's Jasmine Montgomery. Cameron Dixon and both Jasmine Montgomery had really busy days. 4x1 for both of them, 100 meters for both of them, 200-meter heats for both of them, and here they both line up in the 4x4. Here's South Carolina. Zaya Akins, she goes lead off. Jamesia Ford will run anchor. Jayla Jamison, she had a really good day as well. We've seen her a few times today. Sylvia Chalangat will go on that 3rd leg. Can't miss Jamesia Ford, certainly with that hair.
Well, also, as we predicted, her 4th event of the day. She set collegiate leader in the 100 with a huge personal best, and a new collegiate lead in the 200 going under 22 seconds.
She's going to get a day off, and she's going to have an opportunity to come back and do it all again.
From the inside, Baylor, LSU, New Mexico, then Auburn, Texas A&M, South Carolina, and on the outside, UCLA and Clemson.
Good start for Auburn there in lane 5. Bimbaya, Mesa Rewa.
Easy for you to say.
It's tough to say fast. This does not drip off the tongue, but she's having a nice run there in lane 5. Zaya Akins looking good for South Carolina as well. Clemson running nice with Shanky Williams on the far outside.
Looks like South Carolina is going to pass first. Followed closely by Clemson and Auburn.
Watch on the inside, that's Michaela Rose of LSU running this 2nd leg for the Tigers and has already gained great ground. Think about back to the indoor season. She was part of their distance medley relay. She loves to run on relays. 4x4 distance medley relay, anything that she can do to contribute. And had a fantastic run to position them up front Broke that meet record in the 800 earlier. She is on a roll.
Looks like a training run for her. Getting some work in. Jayla Jamison with a nice run for the Gamecocks as well there. Settled nicely in a second position behind Michaela Rose.
All SEC in the top 3. LSU, South Carolina, Auburn, and then UCLA in 4th.
51 flat for Michaela Rose.
She in the right event?
I mean, she just broke the meet record in the 8, so yeah, I think so.
So for LSU, this is Nazia Williams, the freshman, and now making a move for South Carolina. That's Sylvia Shalangat. Auburn also trying to get in the mix with Zuriel Reed, and UCLA not going away with Alyssa Conyers. Final exchange coming up. Could be messy. Carolina passes first. Jamesia Ford. And on the outside for Auburn, that is Obiemi Oke. She's not going to pass Ford on the outside, I don't believe.
Well, I'll tell you what, this Auburn quartet, they were the 13th qualifier last year at the East Round 1, and they missed qualifying and coming here to the National Championships by 1 spot, and they made it this year, and they are absolutely making the most of it.
Jamesia Ford in South Carolina in the lead. Auburn, now UCLA making a move, along with A&M. 4 SECs and a Big Ten. Top 2 teams go through. A&M making the big move to get into that spot. Jaden Wood bringing the Aggies in for that second automatic qualifier. Ford jogs in for South Carolina in 3:27.91. 50.7 for Ford. What a day she has had. Jamesia Ford, what a day. Co-collegiate lead in the 100 with a giant lifetime best running 10:87. Goes 21:98 for the new collegiate lead in the 200. Anchors their 4x1, anchors their 4x4.
Well, this is what she does. She's just so used to putting in the work. I love to just see her range, though, between 100 meters and 400 meters. She's so good.
Here are the results. South Carolina and Texas A&M going through automatically. UCLA at third at 3:29.63, hoping for that to be a time qualifier. Auburn finished 4th. So there is our 10,000 meter winner and new meet record holder, Pamela Kosgei, and moments ago our John Anderson caught up with the new 10,000 meter titleist.
Well, for 25 laps, it looked really easy. Tell me how difficult or easy was that race?
It was not easy because like for the fast we go like then like we just maintained the pace until like 8 laps remaining. I said like let me try my best like to go in front. Maybe I see if my body will move. Then I did great, yeah.
It was very quick. Why was it you decided with 8 laps to go, 3,000 meters to go, basically, that was the time for you to make your move?
I was feeling like I need to move, so I said like let me try to move like my body said, yeah.
You, Ishmael, Hoptum, the Lobos are having a heck of a run. How does it help to be around those guys and train around those fellas?
It is so good because like and I'm grateful my teammate, like both of 3 of us, we are like in 10,000 they were like fast and second, then I was in the fast. So I thank my God for my coach for the good training that he gives to us, yeah.
And now that you've enjoyed this for like 3 minutes, do you want to think about the 5,000 yet? Because that's coming up next. What are you thinking?
I don't like think because I don't know. Yeah.
We'll worry about that Saturday.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Pamela.
Thank you so much.
Dwight, big winner in the 10,000, another Lobo.
Lobo sweep. Well, we happen to notice that Sylvia Chalangat, who ran third leg for the Gamecocks, needed a little help off the track. I'm surprised they're not helping Jamisha Ford off the track with the kind of day that she's had. But anyway, we will keep an eye on that and see if we can get an update as to what her condition is.
Jamisa Ford may be invincible at this point.
Could be. Could be bionic. All right, third and final event. In fact, the last event of the evening on Ladies' Day. The Georgia Bulldogs will start with Michelle Smith in lane 6 and anchor with Janae Oakley.
Well, you got to love the confidence there, putting a freshman on the first leg here at the National Championships. Iowa goes in a lane inside of Georgia. They go with a freshman as well, Olivia Williams. They've run 3:26 this season. Kentucky inside of them has gone 3:26, but Georgia 3:24. Dejanay Oakley, Aaliyah Butler. Oakley will go on the final leg there. Aaliyah Butler will go on the second leg, and then Sydney Harris will go third leg for the Bulldogs.
USC also in here at 3:26. The bubble is 3:30.45. If you aren't first or second in this final heat, you better run faster than 3:30.45 if you want to get through. Yemi John, lead off for the women of Troy. Madison White will anchor.
On your mark.
From the inside, Florida State, TCU, Kentucky, then Iowa, Georgia, USC, and then Miami of Florida and Texas Tech on the outside.
Serena Tate, the freshman from Miami, has gone out nice and quick, made up the stagger on Maggie Harris of Texas Tech there to her outside. But let's see if she has the strength to hold on here in the last 100 meters. Yemi John running well, so is Michelle Smith.
Miami of Florida going well with Serena Tate, the freshman. Here comes Yemi John. USC and Kentucky passing first. 52-1 for the outgoing runner for USC. Now let's see who gets the pole. From Georgia, that is Aaliyah Butler. She gets the pole position, followed by USC's Jasani Carter. And for Iowa, that is Demarius Mutunga.
Well, it's a good spot for Aaliyah Butler. She loves to push the first half of the 400 meters, and so she's able to get that baton, whether it's even or a little bit ahead, and she can break this thing open, give the Georgia Bulldogs a little bit of a lead here, and maybe these third and fourth runners don't feel the pressure quite as much.
Iowa in the second as Jasani Carter just didn't have any reaction to being passed at all. For Georgia, Sydney Harris on third leg. For Iowa, Alicia Lucas 50 flat for Aaliyah Butler on second leg. Alicia Lucas for Iowa. Florida State now making a move to Kia Ferguson. USC back to fourth place.
Not sure I ever saw anybody run, a female run 50 seconds as easy as we just saw Aaliyah Butler do on that second leg.
now Florida State and USC making a move on Iowa, but it is Georgia who will pass first and cleanly. Seminoles into second. They pass ahead of Iowa. USC still in fourth. 50.
Well, keep an eye on Madison White there in the white uniform. Now she's in fourth position for USC Southern Cal, the Big Ten 400-meter champ.
Desjanae Oakley for Georgia. This is not in the bag for Iowa. Chioma Nwachukwu, the freshman. Nwachukwu, the freshman. Here comes USC storming back. Madison White. Does Oakley have another gear? She's in first now. She continues to pull away. It's going to be Georgia and USC getting the automatic qualifiers out of semifinal number 3. 51-2 for Desjanae Oakley on anchor for Georgia, bringing them home in first place. And it may come down to the 4x4. It's a good thing they got their quartet into this final.
Well, Madison White got the baton in about 4th position. And look at her just track the Iowa runner, measure her absolutely beautifully, and pass her in the last 40 meters. But Madison White is a phenomenal relay runner. It'll be fun to see her in the finals of the Open 4 and the relay tomorrow.
So there are your advancers. It took 3:29.63 to get into the final. First time under 3, I should say, not correct, 3:28.77 last year to get it into the final. So that's it for the semifinal day for the ladies. They will have their final on Saturday to conclude these 4 days of these championships. That wraps our second of 4 days of coverage from the 2025 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. Join us tomorrow when the men's team championship is determined. Tomorrow is also the start of the heptathlon. Coverage starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, and don't forget you can catch exclusive field event streaming on ESPN Plus starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. For our host, John Anderson, Laura Overton, Dan O'Brien, our great statisticians Rich Benoit and Tom Lewis, I am Dwight Stones. See you tomorrow for the men's final.